Chapter 3754. After Chen landed on the ground, he immediately turned around and said, "Since Senior is so sincere in your invitation, Junior can only accept it." Lan Rui curled his lips. This was too cunning. Shan Ya and Noah remained motionless. It was unknown whether it was because of excitement or fear. The light on Little Mute's body had dissipated. Her transformation had ended at this time. She was still in the soul void realm. She was very afraid of the auras of these unfamiliar old men around her. Looking at Little Mute, who was like a pitiful little beast, Chen was helpless. He couldn't even protect himself now. These old men might kill him to silence him. The killing intent he sensed earlier was not fake. Looking at the subtle atmosphere in front of him, Chen hesitated for a moment before saying, "Senior, you just said that Little Mute is a fairy. I guess her identity must be very noble, right?" The old men did not answer, but Lan Rui took the initiative to say, "Of course. How noble is the fairy's identity? You can protect the fairy along the way. You are naturally meritorious, but you are also lucky. When you return to the family, there will be benefits for you, so you can be happy." Chen cupped his fists again and said, "I see. It seems that we are really lucky." As a rogue cultivator, Chen greets the fairy and seniors. The group of old men looked at each other. Obviously, they did not expect Chen to speak so much. Even if they had killing intent in their hearts, they could not show it at this time. "Bring the fairy back to the family." The old man who spoke before said again. He should be the one in charge, so he made the final decision. "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and come over." Lan Rui waved at Chen, indicating for him to come forward. The old man turned to look at Chen, and his eyes were a little more fierce. Chen could only brace himself and go forward. Shan Ya and Noah followed obediently. In front of absolute strength, all schemes were futile. Right now, they could only go to the Lan family. This was obviously a teleportation array. After Chen stepped into the light, he felt a strong suction force. In the next moment, everyone's figures disappeared. After they left, cracks suddenly appeared on the mountain with the teleportation array. These cracks began to spread until the entire mountain exploded. Asterisk 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 asterisk. When Chen's figure reappeared, he was beside a statue. This place was filled with a sacred and solemn aura. Obviously, this was not an ordinary place. This could be seen from the expressions of the old men. Chen immediately lowered his head and stopped looking around. Lan Rui glanced at Chen with a strange expression. At this moment, another wave of energy fell on him. The feeling of being teleported appeared again. This time, when they reappeared, they were already in a large hall. A powerful force sent Chen and the other two flying out of the hall. Before he left the hall, he heard the old man's voice again. "Rui, arrange a place for the Holy Maiden." The three of them landed outside the hall. Shan Ya and Noah looked at each other. Didn't they say that they were people who had performed meritorious deeds? Why were they treating their guests like this? Chen's expression was still calm because he knew very well that after coming here, they no longer had the right to speak. Everything could only be arranged by others, or it could be said that it was up to fate. Although he did not like this feeling, there was nothing he could do about it. However, what puzzled him was that since they were willing to pay a huge price to bring Mute back, why were they all so cold? Some of them could not even hide their killing intent. The three of them stood outside the hall and could not hear what the people in the hall were saying. No one paid them any attention. "I see that your expressions are a little different from before. Do you know something?" Since he had nothing to do, Chen asked about the scene he saw earlier. At that time, the two of them were stunned and did not move. Noah pursed his dry lips and said in a deep voice, "If we're not wrong, we're standing in the Lan family now. So it's the Lan family. Didn't they say it before?" Chen said. Noah said, "If it's really the Lan family, then this is one of the most powerful families in the Blue Sand continent. They govern almost half of the forces in the Blue Sand continent." "What?" Chen's expression changed when he heard this. Noah then talked about some of the Lan family's forces that he had heard of. This made Zi Chen frown. Such a huge family had countless experts. If they were really willing to let the fairy return, why would they need the three of them to protect her? Those old men from before all had the power to easily crush him. At this moment, Zi Chen could not help but wonder if the Lan family's goal from the beginning was to make the entire mission fail and not succeed. To think that Lan Rue was worried that you guys would be at a loss when you first arrived here. I didn't expect you guys to be chatting. You guys seem to be in a good mood. A slightly sarcastic voice sounded. A woman in red walked in their direction. She exuded a youthful aura. Her delicate chin was slightly raised with a hint of arrogance. She glanced at Zi Chen and said, "You don't look that bad, you coward." Zi Chen looked at the woman in red and did not know what to say. Noah and Shan Ya were obviously very nervous. After all, this was the Lan family. If their enemy, the Ghost King, was already powerful enough, then the Lan family was even more powerful than the Ghost King. Perhaps they only needed to move their fingers gently and the powerful Ghost King would be annihilated. The woman in red came in front of the three of them. She looked at the silent Zi Chen and said, "I heard from Lan Rue that you were so scared that you couldn't even walk when you found out that you were coming to the Lan family." Facing this woman who was obviously sarcastic, Zi Chen said calmly, "It's not that I was scared. I was just a little surprised." The woman in red smiled mockingly and said, "Then I'll take you guys to the Lan family. There are many places that will broaden your horizons." Zi Chen immediately said, "No, we're fine here. Maybe those seniors will have other orders later." "Humph. And you say you're not a coward?" The woman in red rolled her eyes and said, "I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Lan Hongyi. You can call me Hongyi. I'm Lan Rue's younger sister. I'm Zi Chen." "Greetings." Zi Chen immediately cupped his fists. However, before he could finish, he was interrupted by the woman. "Let's skip the pleasantries. Come with me. Since she's returned to the family, nothing can happen to her. After all, she's from such a big family. She still wants to save face. But the three of you, if you keep standing here, aren't you worried that you'll cause trouble?" Obviously, this woman had a more thorough view of the situation. Her action also saved the three of them from an awkward situation. Zi Chen could not help but look at her a few more times. Apart from her flamboyant personality, she also had a meticulous heart. He could not help but think of the maid called Xiao Yu. Under her bossy and domineering attitude, she actually had a meticulous heart. She was clearly not even at the Soul Void realm, but she made everyone run in circles. For a moment, Zi Chen was a little distracted. "What? You're not even blinking. Are you tempted by me? Have you prepared enough betrothal gifts?" Chapter 3755. Lan Hongyi led Zi Chen out of the meeting hall and went to another mansion. As the core of the Lan family, it was huge. Both sides didn't talk much along the way. Shan Ya glanced at Lan Hongyi from time to time. She seemed to be curious about how such a woman could say such things. Zi Chen and the other three walked for a full hour before they arrived at the place Lan Hongyi had mentioned. It was a standalone courtyard with some green bamboos planted outside, and the courtyard was filled with the sound of birds chirping and the fragrance of flowers. "This is where you will live. There is everything inside. Food will also be delivered by someone." Lan Hongyi pointed to another standalone courtyard 100 feet away and said, "I will live there. If there is anything you need, you can look for me. I will help you appropriately." Zi Chen hesitated and said, "Will it be inappropriate for us to stay here?" Lan Hongyi glanced at Zi Chen and said meaningfully, "It's impossible for you to leave." With that, she left. Noah and Shan Ya looked at Zi Chen, waiting for him to make a decision. "Let's take one step at a time." Zi Chen walked forward. At this moment, he couldn't help but sigh. It was not easy to get paid. Not to mention the dangers along the way, they might even lose their lives here. The room was very clean, as if it had been cleaned by someone. There was everything, even a training room. Moreover, the floor of the entire room seemed to have an array that gathered soul power, causing the soul power in the room to be very rich. There were also all kinds of exquisite accessories in the room, all of which could increase soul power. From this, one could see how rich and powerful the Lan family was. Chen began to cultivate and his heart gradually calmed down. On the other hand, Shan Ya and Noah couldn't calm down for a long time. They thought that it was a good thing to come to the Lan family. After all, they were people who had made contributions. Who would have thought that their lives would be in danger? After an hour, Lan Rui came. Other than him, Xiao Mute also came, which surprised Chen. The current Xiao Mute was wearing a luxurious dress, completely different from the sword-carrying woman from before. When she saw the three of them, her eyes were filled with pleasant surprise. Chen looked at Langrui. Langrui said, "I had no choice. The heavenly maiden insisted on coming here. I could only bring her here." Chen was still looking at Langrui and didn't say anything. Rui said again, "It's your first time here, so it's inevitable that you'll feel uncomfortable. However, you don't have to worry. If everything goes well, you'll see an acquaintance in 2 days. At that time, he'll naturally tell you everything. We'll let the holy maiden stay here for the time being." Only then did Chen nod his head. Lan Rui bid farewell and left. It didn't take long for someone to deliver food to them. All of them were made from special ingredients. Even the fruits after the meal were good things that could increase one's soul power. Chen and Noah ate heartily. Shan Ya and Xiao Mute seemed to be affected as well. Everyone was in a good mood during the meal. It was the only consolation in this place where tigers and wolves were lurking. What should we do next? Xiao Mute looked at Chen. She didn't know anyone here, which was why she strongly requested to come to Chen's place. Compared to others, following Chen, who was familiar with her, gave her a sense of security. "We can only wait." Chen smiled at Xiao Mute and said, "You didn't notice anything strange before?" Xiao Mute shook her head and said, "No. I've been living with the young miss since I could remember. I trained hard with the sword since I was young so that I could protect the young miss in times of danger." After her appearance changed, Xiao Mute's voice also became very pleasant. She naturally wouldn't lie to Chen. Moreover, Chen could hear the helplessness in her voice. She, who was supposed to protect the young miss, was actually that young miss. Even Xiao Mute herself didn't know her identity. Naturally, she could deceive others. In Chen's eyes, this was an extremely clever move. However, as for the specifics, he could only wait for that so-called acquaintance. On the second day, neither Lan Rui nor Lan Hongyi came. There were no other troubles. The quality of the 3 meals a day was very high. On the third day, the so-called acquaintance came. It was the old man at the human soul realm. This surprised Chen, but also made him happy. He was the most familiar with the old man in the group from last time. However, when Chen went forward to welcome him, the old man was already there. He bowed deeply to Chen. "Young friend, thank you very much." Chen hurried forward to help the old man up. However, his left hand missed. The old man had already lost his right arm. He was slightly stunned and said in astonishment, "Senior, your arm?" The old man shook his head and said, "It doesn't matter. I'm already very satisfied to be able to come back alive." A powerful human soul realm expert actually felt satisfied to be alive. Chen didn't dare to imagine what they had experienced. Noah and Shan Ya immediately bowed to the old man. Xiao Mute also walked out and looked at the old man in front of him. The old man was the steward of the residence. He was kind to everyone. If the old man had not displayed his powerful cultivation realm that day, Xiao Mute would not have known that the kind steward was a powerful human soul realm expert. When the old man saw Xiao Mute, he nodded repeatedly. There was an unconcealable excitement on his aged face. "Good, very good. Really very good. I finally get to see you again, miss." In an instant, the old man's face was covered in tears. Xiao Mute stood there at a loss as she looked at the crying old man. "Your real name is not Xiao Mute. You are Jiyu Meng, Lan Jiyu Meng," the old man said again. Xiao Mute became Lan Jiyu Meng. This was decided many years ago. Chen invited the old man into the room and then poured a cup of water for her. The old man told her about Lan Jiyu Meng. When Lan Jiyu Meng was born, she was hunted down by her enemies. At that time, Lan Jiyu Meng's family tried their best to protect her. In the end, They brought Lan Jiu-meng back to Star Sand City. During that time, they were worried that their identities would be exposed. Therefore, the real Lan Jiu-meng became a mute girl who sealed her mouth and followed a young lady to practice swordsmanship. Their lives were very peaceful and happy. More than 20 years later, they left Star Sand City for the first time. Everyone's fates had changed from then on. Ted is my friend. I asked him to find some reliable people to complete this mission. The old man looked at Zi Chen and said, "So, in the end, you were chosen. Zi Chen, you really did not disappoint us. This old man will never forget this kindness. Senior, you are too polite. We are only doing this according to the reward." At that time, Ted gave us a price that was hard to refuse. "We are not that generous," Zi Chen said politely. However, there were many suspicious points in the old man's words. For example, why would Lan Jiu-meng, who was born in the Lan clan, have enemies? And the so-called enemies could not be the Lan clan itself, right? However, the old man did not say anything. Zi Chen naturally would not ask. The less he knew about this kind of thing, the better. Looking at the somewhat worried Zi Chen, the old man said, "No need to worry. Since we are already here, then the Lan clan will do their best to protect Jiu-meng." Chapter 3756. Hearing that Zi Chen wanted to leave, the old man looked at him with a strange expression. Noticing the change in the old man's expression, Zi Chen asked, "What's wrong? Is there a problem?" The old man said, "Before I came, I met young Master Lan Rui." Zi Chen understood the old man's meaning and scratched his head. "You are indeed very cautious," the old man said with a sigh. Zi Chen said, "Senior, you must be joking. How is this cautious? I'm just not used to it. After all, we are just rogue cultivators who run around on missions to make a living. We have long been used to living in the open. Now that we are in such a big family with people serving us, we can't get used to it." The old man smiled and said, "Senior, don't call me that. It sounds distant. My name is Lan Lu. You can call me by my name, or you can call me housekeeper." Lan Lu patted Zi Chen on the shoulder and said, "Although everything has settled down, you can't leave for the time being." "Why?" Zi Chen's expression changed. Noah and Shan Ya were also a little worried. Lan Lu said, "Don't worry, the Lan family won't put you under house arrest. It's just that there may be some things that we need your help with." "Oh, okay then." Zi Chen nodded and agreed. However, he definitely did not believe these words. The Lan clan had countless strong cultivators. Why would they need the help of a few weak existences like them? After Lan Lu left, Lan Hongyi, who lived next door, came. She came to look for Lan Jiu-meng. The two sides did not talk much. At most, they just came to take a look. In the next few days, there would always be some strangers outside Zi Chen's room. They were all here for Lan Gumeng, but they didn't have the courage to enter. The Lan family entertained Zi Chen and his group with delicious food and drinks. Until now, they had not neglected Zi Chen and his group in the slightest. However, this feeling of being under house arrest made Zi Chen feel very uncomfortable. It was not easy for him to calm down and cultivate. After worrying for a few days, Zi Chen's mood gradually relaxed. After all, after leaving this place, he might have to face the Ghost King's people. For now, staying here was pretty good, at least there was no danger to his life. Thus, Zi Chen began to cultivate with all his might. During this time, he did not forget to accumulate some saint talismans. He even began to look forward to the reward that the Lan family had promised. After all, this was what the head of the Lan clan had said. He shouldn't be lying. It was only a matter of time. As for how she knew that the other party was the head of the family, this was what Lan Hongyi had said. She had become a regular customer here these past few days. Other than her harsh words towards Zi Chen, she had a good relationship with Shan Ya and Lan Jiu-meng. As for Noah, after seeing Zi Chen suffer defeat time and time again, he tactfully disappeared when he saw the other party arrive. After living in this house for half a month, Noah, who had a lot of time to cultivate, finally found his own strength. It was similar to the power of the wind, which made him extremely excited. As for Shan Ya, she still did not find the attribute of strength. On this day, Lan Hongyi chatted with Lan Jiumeng outside, while Zichen stayed in his room to cultivate. Not long after, there was a knock on Zichen's door. It was Lan Hongyi's voice. "Hey, coward, Lan Rui is looking for you." Zichen opened his eyes. He was very puzzled by this name. He did not dare to come to the Lan clan, so he was a coward? What kind of logic was this? When Zichen opened the door, Lan Hongyi had already left. Lan Rui stood at the door. He looked at Zichen through the door and said, "Want to talk?" Zichen said, "If I say that I'm cultivating and don't have time, is that okay?" Lan Rui smiled, then took the initiative to walk into Zichen's room and said, "Then use that favor to talk." Of course, the premise is that you have to admit that it is indeed a favor. Zichen nodded and said, "I admit it." "Tell me what it is." Lan Rui glanced at the door, and Zichen tactfully closed the door. Lan Rui said, "It's about the matter of the fairy. It's finally settled. The Lan clan will protect her." Zichen did not speak, quietly waiting for the rest of the story. Looking at the calm Zichen, Lan Rui asked curiously, "Aren't you curious why this happened?" Zichen said lightly, "Curiosity kills." Lan Rui smiled and said, "It seems that you still haven't let down your guard." Zichen rolled his eyes. Who could let down their guard in this place? "Anyway, it's just a favor. You can talk about it as you see fit," Zichen said. "I won't agree to everything. There should be a limit to everything." "Then let's talk about the name Lan Jiumeng first," Lan Rui said. Lan Rui said, "She is not a person's name. In fact, it is a title. The original meaning is the lonely sleeper of the Lan family. Or you can understand it as a lonely person dreaming a dream that will never come true." Zichen looked at Lan Rui, and his expression changed. Lan Jiumeng is the fairy. Generation after generation of fairies are called Lan Jiumeng. They have impressive talent and unparalleled combat strength. They are the symbol of the Lan clan. Lan Rui's eyes were filled with fanaticism. However, the fairy of every generation did not grow up. Zichen extinguished the other party's fanaticism at the right time. Lan Rui's eyes were a little dim. He sighed and then nodded in tacit agreement. "So, there's no such thing as being hunted down by enemies. Your Lan clan knew about the birth of the fairy. You were the ones who sealed the fairy and prevented her from growing up. The name Lan Jiumeng came from this." "It's always a dream," Zichen said again. This was what he guessed. Of course, it was also because of the previous events. The Lan clan was huge. If they supported someone with all their strength, how could they not succeed? In the end, it was all because of the Lan clan. Lan Rui nodded and did not deny it. "But, do you know why?" Without waiting for Zichen to ask, Lan Rui said directly, "Because of luck." Zichen's expression changed. Every time the fairy appears, more than half of the Lan clan's luck will be taken away. The potential of the younger generation of the Lan clan's disciples is obviously reduced. Take our generation for example. In the past 20 years, other than Lan Hongyi and I, the Lan clan has no other brilliant disciples with potential. Lan Rui looked at Zichen and said, "And once the fairy disappears, the potential of the Lan clan's disciples will return. Therefore, this is also the main reason why the fairy is unable to grow in the Lan clan." Isn't this explanation too ridiculous? Zichen clearly did not believe it. Lan Rui continued, "It sounds like it, but what if it's a conclusion reached after hundreds or even thousands of years?" Zichen frowned. If it was really a conclusion reached after a long time, then it was worth believing. Looking at the silent Zichen, Lan Rui said, "Every time the Lan clan stops a fairy, 3 Heaven Realm experts will appear in the clan. Furthermore, this doesn't include many disciples with potential. To the Lan clan, this is a very good deal no matter how you look at it. After all, a fairy is only a Heaven Realm expert. For so many years, the Lan clan has been able to stand tall because of their eternal luck." Zichen frowned and said, "If that's the case, then why do we have to protect the fairy this time? Why don't we just let her disappear?" Lan Rui said, "Due to some obscure reasons, the Lan clan has suffered heavy losses. Therefore, some of the clansmen want a powerful fairy to see if they can turn the situation around. However, This is only the thought of a portion of the people, not everyone. Zichen said, so, your original goal last time was to kill the fairy? That was my mission, but I also agree with the other people's point of view. I want the fairy to grow. Therefore, I was willing to help you at that time and even helped you delay the others. Lan Rui looked into Zichen's eyes and said, this time, although the clan has already agreed to let the fairy survive, they have also made it clear that they will not give her any additional funding. That's why I came to find you, hoping that you can help the fairy regain her strength. Chapter 3757. Zichen did not expect the fairy to be in such an awkward situation in the Lan family. He was speechless for a moment. Lan Rui continued, although the Lan family has acknowledged the fairy, they do not plan to provide her with resources. At most, they will not interfere and let her fend for herself. Zichen asked in puzzlement, since they have already acknowledged her, why don't they continue to support her? Lan Rui smiled bitterly and said, because the family's share of resources is limited. Naturally, they have to be used where they should be used. Zichen understood what Lan Rui meant. As a huge family, there were naturally many branches. The appearance of the fairy had already affected the potential of their descendants, causing them to suffer quite a loss. However, there was a saying that resources could make up for the lack of potential. Under the situation where the Lan family was unable to unify, no one was willing to be a sucker and take out their own share of resources to nurture the fairy and let her grow. After all, there had never been a fairy in history who had truly grown up. In other words, no one knew what the future would be like. It was this uncertainty that made everyone in the Lan family stop the appearance of the fairy, allowing more genius experts to appear in the family. After all, compared to the fairy, the other experts were controllable. Zichen pondered for a moment before saying, in other words, the Lan family plans to watch the fairy fend for herself. If she grows up, it will not be a loss to the Lan family. If she dies halfway, many people will be happy to see it. Although these words were unpleasant, they were the truth. Lan Rui nodded again, that's right, that's right. However, the family is not doing nothing this time. I've already fought for it. This time, the door to the Lan family's treasury will be opened once for you, but each person can only take one item from inside. Zichen's expression could not help but change when he heard this. The temptation of opening the Lan family's treasury was not small. He believed that after so many years, the Lan family must have accumulated a lot. Even if they could only take one item, it would still be a great opportunity for everyone. However, if there were other choices, Zichen would definitely reject them. This was because these benefits would be very troublesome. If they were not careful, they might even lose their lives. Zichen said, so, this is the reason why you insisted on keeping us here. You had already guessed the Lan family's choice. Regardless of whether we have this favor or not, as long as we come to the Lan family, we have no other choice. Ma Rui scratched his head and said, it seems to be the case. Zichen sighed. Lan Rui was linking the lives of the three of them together with Lan Jiumeng. If the Lan family's heavenly daughter couldn't grow up, would the three of them still be alive? Not to mention the others, just those who had been born in the Lan family for the past 20 years and whose potential was obviously lower would definitely not let them go. When are we leaving? Zichen had no choice but to make the only choice. Lan Rui smiled and said, just in a few days. Before you leave, take the rewards that belong to you. Looking at the slightly depressed Zichen, Lan Rui stood up and patted him on the shoulder. Actually, you can think of it this way. Your life was long gone in the forest. Now that you're alive, it's obviously a good thing. Using your life to fight for a potentially brilliant future, why not? That makes sense. Zichen grinned, but it was uglier than crying. The door opened and Lan Rui left. During this time, he didn't forget to greet Shan Ya and Noah. At the same time, he bowed to Lan Jiumeng. That night, Zichen informed the three of them that they might leave the Lan family for a mission. This made the three of them extremely excited. Although there was good food, drinks, and a good place to cultivate, they still felt uneasy. Of course, it would be good to be able to leave. As for other things, Zichen didn't say. It wasn't that he wanted to keep it a secret, but he didn't want to add to the three's worries. Especially Lan Jiu Meng, Zi Chen couldn't tell her the truth. Early the next morning, Lan Rui came with Lan Hongyi beside him. "Let's go. It's time to collect your rewards," Lan Rui said with a smile. His eyes were filled with anticipation for this trip. After all, even if he was the Lan family's young master, the treasury wasn't a place that he could enter as he wished. Zi Chen nodded and walked forward. Lan Hongyi ran in front of the two girls and whispered. After a while, bell-like laughter rang out. Noah followed beside Zi Chen without saying a word. "Last night, the family discussed again and felt that you had made a contribution this time. Therefore, after agreeing to give you a reward, we decided to help you with something. If you have any wishes that you haven't fulfilled, or enemies that you need to deal with, the Lan family can help you with it." Hearing Lan Rui's words, Zi Chen shook his head without thinking and said, "No, we just came here. There's no trouble." Noah, who was beside him, wanted to say something but stopped. He thought of the Ghost King. If the Lan family was really willing to help, it would be easy to deal with the Ghost King. "You have a wish. You can tell us. We will help you with it." Lan Rui noticed the change in Noah's expression. "No, we came together. There's no other wish." Before Noah could speak, Zi Chen said directly, "If the Lan family is really sincere, can we change this wish to take 2 items from the treasury?" Lan Rui shook his head and said, "It's already a special case that the treasury was opened to you. Letting each of you take an item is unprecedented. 1 item is already the limit. There's no need to think about a second item." Zi Chen said, "If that's the case, then forget it. We appreciate the Lan family's kindness." Hearing Zi Chen's words, Lan Rui could only give up. Noah trusted Zi Chen completely. After being interrupted, he regained his composure. Along the way, they met many Lan family disciples. They were naturally curious about this group of people. Most of their gazes would quickly sweep past Zi Chen and the others and finally stop on Lan Jiu Meng. Everyone's face was filled with astonishment. There were even some young people whose breathing had become hurried. As the holy daughter of the Lan family, Lan Jiu Meng not only had a beautiful face, she also had an extraordinary temperament. Seeing more and more people on both sides of the road, Zi Chen could not help but frown slightly. There really was an ulterior motive. It seemed that in the Lan family, there was still a large number of people who did not want the holy daughter to grow up. After much difficulty, they finally arrived outside the Lan family's treasury. Following that, they spent another 15 minutes before the group passed through the layers of protection and arrived outside the final door of the treasury. Lan Rui once again took out the token that he had shown several times along the way. This time, no one came forward to check it. The token released a blue light and the final door automatically opened inwards. The colorful scene that they imagined did not appear. The door was pitch black, as if it was a dark entrance. "There are restrictions inside. Don't be greedy. Just take what is within your power." A cold voice came from all around, making it impossible to determine the true location of the person who spoke. Lan Rui cupped his fists at the void and walked forward. Zi Chen was not surprised by the voice's warning. It was impossible for the Lan family to let them take whatever they wanted. There had to be a limit to everything. If they took a fancy to the family's treasure, would they let them take it? Chapter 3758. Countless rays of light blossomed, illuminating their surroundings. It was as if they had come to another space. Colorful lights filled their field of vision, as if there were countless Xingchen in the sky, bright and resplendent. Noah's eyes widened in shock. Shan Yue covered her mouth, stunned by this scene. Lan Jiu Meng looked at these dots of light and was a little dazed. Even Zi Chen, who had seen a lot of things, was visibly moved at this moment. Lan Rui smiled but didn't say anything. As the successor of the family, he didn't perform much better than the others when he came here for the first time. However, Lan Hongyi, who also performed very badly for the first time, looked at Zi Chen and said, "What's wrong? Are you scared silly? Our Lan family's treasury has a decent collection, right?" Zi Chen tactfully didn't reply. His gaze swept across the countless dots of light in front of him. Naturally, there were countless objects, and what he needed to do was to choose from these dots of light. Lan Rui stood at the side and saw that the others were not moving, so he said, "Release your soul power and see what is in those dots of light. Then, you can choose what you want." Everyone, including Zi Chen, began to circulate their soul power, and the objects that emitted light appeared one by one. There were countless jade slips with records of soul techniques, as well as colorful soul weapons, and some holy talisman arts. There were so many of them that it made people click their tongues. During this time, Zi Chen saw a sword that emitted a dazzling blue light. Even when using his soul power, he could feel the sharpness of the sword. It looked very extraordinary. Beside the blue sword, there was a piece of blue jade. The blue jade had simple patterns on it, and Zi Chen couldn't help but guess that the jade slip recorded a sword technique that was compatible with the blue sword. Other than that, there were so many good things that they couldn't help but be dazzled by them. "I want this." Noah's voice came from the side. Among so many things, he was able to make a decision so quickly. It was obvious that he really liked this item. It was a soul weapon, a rarely seen ghost head blade. Since it was placed here by the Lan clan, it was obviously of high quality. Zi Chen also saw the ghost head blade. In fact, in his opinion, whether it was Noah or Shan Ya, it would be best if they each took a type of soul technique. After all, this was what they lacked the most right now. However, the ghost head blade was also quite good. After all, it was part of the Lan family's collection. Compared to the spoils of war they had obtained before, the quality was much higher. Unexpectedly, just as Noah was walking forward excitedly, the ghost head blade suddenly shone. A powerful shockwave came from it, sending Noah flying. At the same time, the ghost head blade tore through the air and disappeared. Sitting on the ground, Noah had a blank look on his face. Zi Chen's expression changed slightly. From the looks of it, his previous warning had worked. They were here, but they couldn't just take whatever they saw. He looked at Noah and said, "Go and find a soul technique that suits you better." Noah got up and nodded, ready to make his second choice. Zi Chen was still looking around. There were too many good things here, but he could only choose one. Naturally, he had to be cautious. Suddenly, an idea flashed through his mind. The dark ghost was obviously very sensitive to soul power. How about letting it take a look? Zi Chen made a seal with his hand, intending to call out Ghost to help him come up with an idea. Unexpectedly, after the seal fell, there was no reaction at all. There wasn't even a soul fluctuation, which made Zi Chen stunned. Save it. All spying methods are prohibited here. Other than using soul power to sense, you can only use your eyes to see. Lan Hongyi's voice sounded. Zi Chen was a little depressed. At this moment, another exclamation came from the side. It was Noah who was sent flying for the second time. Zi Chen didn't even have the time to see what it was before it disappeared without a trace. Noah had a helpless look on his face. Zi Chen's heart skipped a beat as he dashed towards the blue sword. The blue sword immediately glowed with a vibrating force. That force wasn't able to send Zi Chen flying, it was only able to push him back. In the next moment, the blue sword disappeared. After Zi Chen stabilized his body, he quickly rushed to the side to get the blue jade, but he still didn't succeed. That powerful force carried obvious hostility, Zi Chen could clearly feel it. He turned to look at Lan Rui and said, "It seems that the things here are not willing to be taken by us." Lan Rui said, "Maybe it's because of bloodline." He took a few steps forward, bowed to the countless light spots in front of him, and then said, "Honorable spirits, you may not know, but this time, the Lan family is indebted to them. After discussion, we have decided to let each of them choose one thing from here. Please show some mercy and give me some help." Just as Lan Rui's voice fell, the countless light spots in front of them were quickly dissipating. It was as if dark clouds had covered Xing Chen, covering all the light. In the blink of an eye, the place darkened, and there were less than 30 light spots left. The rest had lost their luster, and there were about 100 of them. Compared to the previous ones, the difference was too big. Lan Rui looked at Zi Chen and said helplessly, "There's no other way. Everything has a spirit, and also has its own unique will. Those that have disappeared are not willing to leave with you. Among the things that are left, you can choose at will, and there's a 100% chance of success. Chen nodded and didn't say anything. Noah, on the other hand, seemed very depressed. After all, compared to the previous items, the appearance of these items was really too bad. If their appearance was bad, how good could their character be? Good things don't necessarily suit you. Noah, carefully sense from these things and choose one that suits you. Chen's voice sounded, and at this moment, his eyes were moving around the 100 things. After hearing Chen's words, Noah closed his eyes. After only 3 breaths, he opened his eyes again, pointed to a piece of green jade in front of him, and said, "This is it." This piece of jade exuded a faint light, and compared to the previous ones, its quality was too much, but Noah's eyes were very firm, as if he was sure that this was it. That piece of cyan jade flew towards him and landed in his hand. Imperial Wind Technique. At this moment, Shan Ya on the other side also made a choice. She chose a jade slip, which seemed to have lost its spiritual power. The luster on it was very dim, and it only flickered for a few breaths. It seemed to be even worse than Noah's choice. The jade slip didn't resist and fell directly into Shan Ya's hand, and then a message appeared in her mind. Nothing. There was a hint of confusion in her eyes. The two had already made their choice, but Chen was still exploring, but he still didn't find anything that moved him. Suddenly, he felt a slight heat in his chest, and a force entered his body through his heart, converging towards his eyes. The next moment, his eyes lit up a little, and he saw through the darkness in front of him, and saw a lonely piece of jade floating at the edge of the darkness. That jade slip was black. Chapter 3759. That piece of black jade sat alone in a dark corner, as if it was one with the darkness. If it wasn't for Chen's abnormality at the moment, it would be almost impossible to discover its existence. The black jade piece on his body recorded a powerful holy talisman technique. With just a stroke, it could shatter heaven and earth. What about the one in front of them? Chen didn't hesitate and directly rushed forward. He stretched out his hand and firmly grasped the black jade piece in the darkness, saying, "I want this." Seeing the thing Chen grabbed, Lan Hongyi and Lan Rui were slightly stunned. Obviously, they didn't see such a thing before. They only saw that the jade piece in Chen's hand didn't have the slightest bit of light. It was even worse than Shan Ya's, so the two didn't pay too much attention to it. At this time, the 3 of them had each chosen what they wanted. At present, everyone was very satisfied, especially Chen. Lan Rui looked at Lan Jiumeng and said, "Fairy can also choose one." "Me?" Lan Jiumeng was slightly stunned. Obviously, she didn't expect to be included. She was a little surprised, but then became happy. She looked back at Chen and said, "What else do you want?" "I'll get it for you." Hearing Lan Jiumeng's words, for a moment, everyone looked at Chen. Their gazes became strange. Chen shook his head and said, "No, I've already chosen what I like. There are many treasures here, you should also choose something that suits you." Lan Jiumeng nodded and carefully looked around. Lan Rui, on the other hand, wanted to say something but stopped. At the same time, he glanced at Chen. Chen immediately understood the other party's meaning and said, "Little mute, don't be nervous. Release your perception with all your strength. I believe you will definitely be able to get something better." When interacting with Chen and the others, Lan Jiumeng preferred the name Little Mute. This was also the only thing she insisted on. After hearing Chen's words, Lan Jiumeng nodded heavily. She took a step forward and released all her perception. Light shone from her body, and the previously dark surroundings were illuminated again. At the same time, a huge pair of wings of light appeared behind her and slowly stretched out. Under the illumination of the light, Lan Jiumeng was like a holy angel descending to the world. This was the first time Lan Hongyi saw this scene. Her bright black eyes stared unblinkingly, she was shocked. Although it was the second time Chen and the others had seen the fairy in this state, their expressions at this moment, they were still moved. A chaotic aura appeared in front of them. In the original darkness, nearly 100 rays of light lit up. It was obvious that after sensing Lan Gumeng's aura, some of the spiritual beings were willing to be chosen by her. Chen even saw the blue sword and the piece of blue jade next to it. Lan Jiumeng also saw the sword. There was a hint of joy in her pure and holy eyes. Therefore, she immediately went forward and prepared to take the sword. Because this was something Zi Chen had never obtained before, she wanted to take it. However, just as her fair and jade-like hands were about to grab onto the sword hilt, a tyrannical spiritual fluctuation suddenly came from behind her. A streak of spiritual light flew over and directly collided with the blue sword, sending it flying. In the next moment, this streak of soul light flew into Lan Jiyumeng's hand. It was also a sword, but it was a narrow sword used by women. Lan Jiyumeng was stunned. This was not what she wanted. She subconsciously wanted to let go of her hand. Obviously, she still wanted that extraordinary blue sword. At this moment, the narrow sword turned into a streak of light and entered her body through her palm. It had already recognized her as its master. Lan Jiyumeng shook her hand. There was anger in her eyes. Don't force it. Everything is fate. This item should be yours. Zi Chen immediately said when he saw this. He clearly understood Lan Jiyumeng's intention. The other party turned around and looked at Zi Chen. There was an apologetic look in her eyes. Obviously, she wanted to do something for Zi Chen. Zi Chen said, "This is your opportunity. You must not give it up. Perhaps there will be a day when we will need the help of someone as strong as you." Lan Jiyumeng nodded. Only then did she feel a little better. The light wings behind her disappeared. Seeing this scene, Lan Rui smiled and said, "All right, since the two of you have made your choice, it's time for the two of us." He and Lan Hongyi walked forward, one on the left and one on the right. In the next moment, the two of them emitted light. They had maximized their perception. The two of them were given the best response from the front. Like the dark clouds dispersing, thousands of Xing Chen appeared, illuminating the world. If there were only 100 items for Zi Chen and the others to choose from, then there were more than 100 times more items for the brother and sister to choose from. At the same time, there were more items than Lan Jiyumeng. It could be seen that Lan Jiyumeng, the heavenly girl, was far inferior to the brother and sister in the eyes of the venerable spirits. There were too many items for the two of them to choose from. It seemed that they needed some time to choose. However, unexpectedly, the time taken for the two of them to choose was even shorter than Zi Chen's. Almost as soon as the light appeared, the brother and sister had made their choice. They chose 2 light balls, but there were different things sealed in them. The two of them did not open them on the spot. Instead, they put them away. Everyone had made their choice. With a flash of light, the 6 of them disappeared. The Imperial Wind Technique. It's a technique that's not bad. It's quite compatible with him. It should be the most valuable among the 4 of them. That void is just like its name. There's nothing inside. Its specific use is unknown. However, it's been here for many years without anyone asking about it. I don't think there's anything good inside. As for the Black Jade piece, it's been here for even longer. Every generation of Pavilion Guardians would carefully study it. However, they have never found anything strange about it. It seems to be just an ordinary item. However, the heavenly girl chose the Absolute Soul Sword. It's a bit surprising. It can actually repel the blue Chelin sword. However, it's only a soul weapon suitable for the soul realm. In terms of its true value, it's not even comparable to the Imperial Wind Technique. It's even further away from the blue Chelin sword. After the 6 of them left, a woman's voice rang out from the darkness. She carefully analyzed the items that the 4 of them had obtained. If that's the case, our greatest loss is the Imperial Wind Technique that can be copied. An old voice rang out. That's indeed the case. Although the other 3 items are not replicas, according to their original quality, they no longer have the qualifications to stay here. Just from this point alone, our loss isn't that great. The woman's words paused for a moment before she continued. On the other hand, the young master and young miss both chose extremely good items. Their value is far from what the other 4 items can compare to. That's good too. This is our Lan family's treasury. How can we let outsiders take away the good stuff? Then do we still need to report it? Since it's not anything valuable, there's no need to report it. I believe the others will understand what it means. Asterisk 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 Zi Chen's group of 6 returned the way they came. This time, they met fewer people along the way. After sending them back, Lan Rui bid farewell and left. Lan Hongyi also left. She seemed to be in a hurry to refine the item she had obtained. On the way back, she had already told everyone that she had obtained a soul weapon. Now, let's all comprehend it. Not knowing when they would set off, Zi Chen was naturally unwilling to waste time in a situation where time was tight. He returned to his room. After closing the door, he took out the black jade piece. He tried to pour his soul power into it. Chapter 3760. Just as he was about to inject his soul power into it, Zi Chen suddenly stopped what he was doing. The black jade piece he obtained last time was already extraordinary. If the two were of the same material, then it was obviously extraordinary as well. Now that such an extraordinary item had fallen into his hands, what would the others think? Being in such a huge family, surrounded by tigers and wolves, Zi Chen had to be on his guard. Thus, he stopped comprehending the black jade piece. At the same time, he carefully released his perception to investigate the abnormal situation around him. There was nothing abnormal. Zi Chen fell into deep thought. There were countless good things in the Lan family's treasury, and the choices given to them this time were of course not good things. Because those good things all had their own will and left on their own. In the eyes of outsiders, it was not easy for them to obtain good things under such circumstances. Moreover, those things should have been reported to the family. Since they were able to take them out, it meant that the Lan family did not care. Of course, Zi Chen's situation was obviously a case of picking up scraps. After hesitating for a while, Zi Chen decided to immediately comprehend it. On one hand, there were unknown dangers in the future, and having more powerful combat power naturally meant more benefits. On the other hand, if he was secretive, he would be suspected of being in a mess. If the two things were of the same attribute, then even if he gave it to others, they would not be able to comprehend it. Otherwise, this black jade piece would not have fallen into his hands. After thinking this through, Zi Chen made up his mind and directly injected a strand of soul power into it. In the next moment, the jade piece began to emit light. His consciousness returned to another space, but this time, he did not see anyone drawing talismans. He had obtained a technique. It was not an offensive technique, but a very rare healing technique. Recovery. This made Zi Chen very surprised, but he was even more excited because with this method, he would be able to display more of his abilities when facing an enemy. It was a pleasant surprise. Zi Chen stayed in the room to comprehend the recovery technique. Shan Ya and Noah also had their own gains, especially Shan Ya. She who couldn't find the path ahead this entire time, after seeing none, seemed to have understood many things. A great cultivation Dao was already opened up for her. In Lan Jiyu Meng's room, she looked at the small sword dancing in front of her. Her beautiful face was filled with dissatisfaction. This was not what she wanted at all. The small sword danced in the air, leaving a trail in the air, as if it wanted to show off in front of its new master. Unfortunately, Lan Jiyu Meng was too lazy to even look at it. Compared to the others, Lan Jiyu Meng looked the most relaxed on the surface, but the change in her identity made her feel a lot of pressure. If it weren't for Zi Chen and the other two by her side, she didn't dare to imagine what life would have been like here. Thus, when she found out that she could leave, she was extremely happy and excited. Even though she knew that she would face danger after leaving this place, she did not care. The night passed without a word. The next day, as soon as the sky brightened, a clamor came from outside the door. "Get the hell out of there. Reckless idiots. You should take a look at your status first. How dare you take young Master Lan Qian's belongings? Do you want to die?" The clamor interrupted Zi Chen's cultivation. He opened his eyes and walked out. A young man in luxurious clothes stood outside the door. Since he dared to make a ruckus here, it was obvious that his status was not low. Not far away, there were a few people standing there, pointing and gossiping. They were mostly here to watch the show. Noah had already arrived outside and stepped forward to reason with the young man. In the end, he was scolded by the young man without any trace of politeness. This caused Noah's expression to gradually become ugly. What's going on? Zichen walked out and said as he looked ahead. You're their leader? Lan Qian stared at Zichen with a cold glint in his eyes. You can say so. Zichen said. Take out what belongs to me. Lan Qian's body was filled with killing intent. Otherwise, die. Zichen said calmly, I don't know what I took from you. The quota to enter the treasury. Damn it. That was originally my quota, but you bastards took it away. Hurry up and hand it over. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude. Hearing Lan Qian's words, Zichen's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that someone was spying on them in the dark, so they took it away today? He muttered in his heart, but the expression on his face did not change at all. He said faintly, You can ask your family about this. They were the ones who gave you the quota. You're not admitting it. Lan Qian's face was getting colder. How can I admit to your ridiculous words? Why don't you go find the person in charge and ask him face to face? Zichen said, Why don't you go find your family head? He should know about this. Let's see if we really took your quota. You want to see the family head? Lan Qian said sarcastically, You're overestimating yourselves. Zichen said, We don't want to see anyone. If you can't find the family head to testify for you, then you can leave. I won't see you out. Do you really want to die? Lan Qian narrowed his eyes. Zichen looked him up and down and said, Although I don't want to cause trouble, I can tell you right now that you don't have the right to say you want to die in front of me. If you want to say it, it should be me. Do you want to die? Zichen's eyes revealed a cold murderous intent. That surging murderous intent was like a sharp sword, piercing into Lan Qian's eyes. His face changed greatly, and he subconsciously took a few steps back. Zichen had killed countless people along the way. Lan Qian saying the words want to die in front of him was simply laughable. Although they were currently staying in the Lan family and were living under someone else's roof, if this guy continued to go overboard, then he wouldn't mind teaching this unreasonable guy a lesson. Lan Qian, what are you doing here? At that moment, a cold voice came from the side. It was Lan Hongyi, who had rushed over after hearing the commotion. Hongyi, you came at the right time. This guy not only took my quota, but also wants to kill me, Lan Qian said agitatedly when he saw Lan Hongyi coming over. Lan Hongyi walked over. She was very clear about the situation, so she said to Lan Qian unhappily, Don't cause trouble here. That quota was their reward for bringing back the Holy Lady. Moreover, the Holy Lady is here today. How can you cause trouble here? Don't be rude. Shan Ya and Lan Jiumeng had also walked over. Holy Lady. Chapter 3761. There were many onlookers. After hearing Lan Qian's words, the surroundings became so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. Lan Jiumeng's face turned pale and she bit her lip. Lan Qian said loudly, Our Lan family is so powerful that we don't need a heavenly daughter. What right does she have to take away all of our karmic luck? It's fine if she takes away our luck, but why should she take away what belongs to us? The Lan family's treasure vault was accumulated by our Lan family for generations. Why should we give it to outsiders like you? Zichen looked around and saw many pairs of ice-cold eyes staring back at him. Perhaps these were the true thoughts of the Lan clan, they were just using Lan Qian's mouth to express themselves. Lan Jiumeng lowered her head and didn't dare to look at anyone. At this moment, she felt so ashamed that she couldn't show her face. Tears fell from the corners of her eyes. She looked hesitant and helpless. It was as if she had become that mute girl again, unable to make a sound. If she had a choice, she would rather be that little mute than the current Lan Jiumeng. Zichen walked in front of Lan Jiumeng and held her in his arms. Then, he gently patted her back and said, Don't blame yourself and don't be sad. You are a heavenly daughter. You were born one. Your extraordinariness was predestined by the heavens. As for those irrelevant guys, don't bother. Just treat them as if they were jealous. Well, there's a saying that says that not everything in life can go according to one's wishes. As long as you walk towards the sun, the shadow will hide behind you. The more dazzling the road ahead is, the more correct it is. Raise your head and walk forward. These guys who only know how to complain are destined to become shadows that are afraid of the sun. Hearing Zichen's words, Lan Jiumeng raised her head. The hesitation and helplessness in her eyes seemed to have dissipated a little. Zichen smiled and said, "Don't worry. No matter how difficult the road ahead is, we will accompany you." Noah and Shan Ye came closer and nodded in promise. At this moment, the sun shone down on Zichen's body, illuminating his body. His handsome face seemed to glow with radiance at this moment. Lan Jiumeng seemed to be affected by the atmosphere and nodded heavily. I will keep moving forward." At this moment, Lan Jiumeng was filled with confidence for the future, perhaps because she had a friend by her side. "Let's go back and cultivate." The four of them returned to their room, closed the door, and continued to cultivate. They no longer paid attention to what was happening outside. Lan Qian was a big family, so he still cared about his reputation. Not long after, Lan Qian was taken away. An hour later, Long Rui arrived and informed Zichen that Lan Qian had been placed under house arrest. This matter involved a conflict of interest between the branches and had nothing to do with Zichen and the others. Then, Zichen said something. "This should be the Lan family's true attitude now, right?" Long Rui fell silent and did not answer this question in the end. After Long Rui left, Lan Lu arrived. This old man, who had lost an arm, had a look of shame on his face when he saw Zichen. Obviously, such a big thing had happened, but he could not help at all. Fortunately, Zichen handled this matter well and did not cause any negative emotions in the fairy's heart. "Take these things. You must be careful in the future. The road ahead is difficult. The mission of protecting the fairy will depend on you." Lan Lu said earnestly, "Young Master Long Rui is trustworthy. If it weren't for him, it would be almost impossible for the fairy to return. He protected the fairy with his identity as the future successor of the Lan family. Moreover, this time, he will be traveling with you." Zichen looked surprised. No wonder the Lan family's attitude towards the fairy was so unfriendly, but they still allowed her to return to the Lan family. Moreover, Long Rui was the future leader of the Lan family. This also surprised Zichen. He took the things that Long Rui gave him. They were all life-saving or escape items. It could be seen that he was not optimistic about the future situation of Zichen and the others. Early the next morning, Long Rui came early to inform everyone that it was time to set off. They did not even have time to eat breakfast. Obviously, he was worried that yesterday's incident would happen again. When Zichen and the others walked out of the room, they saw that Lan Hongyi was also there. He was a little surprised, but Zichen, who knew her temperament, tactfully did not ask further. However, even if he did not speak, the change in his expression caused Lan Hongyi to be dissatisfied. "What? You're a coward. Are you surprised that I'm here?" She naturally knew that Zichen would not answer, so she said to herself, "Because I'm giving you a chance to pursue me. As long as you catch up with me, you can have whatever you want in the future. Resources and wealth will be at your fingertips. Won't life be great?" Zichen did not seem to hear Lan Hongyi's words. He looked at the rising sun and said, "Which direction are we going?" Long Rui smiled and did not dare to answer Zichen's deliberate interruption. He just walked ahead alone. Sure enough, Lan Hongyi was angry behind him. "Zichen, you coward. How dare you ignore me? How dare you?" Zichen picked his ear and sighed. He said without turning his head, "I was too tired from cultivating last night. Maybe there's a problem with my hearing. It's best that you don't talk to me in the morning because I may not be able to hear and respond to you." Lan Jiumeng and the others smiled. Their worries about the unknown future seemed to have been diluted because of this. After Lan Hongyi cast a cold gaze at him, Noah wisely wiped away his smile and immediately looked to the east with a straight face. Along the way, they met some people. Other than the servants, the other Lan family members cast unfriendly gazes at Zichen and the others. Only when their gazes fell on Long Rui and Lan Hongyi would they turn into smiling faces. The group did not leave the Lan family directly. Instead, they came to the place where Zichen and the others came from. It was said that this was a sacred place of ancestral worship. The ancestors of the Lan family all lived here. One of the female statues was very eye-catching. If one looked carefully, they would find that the statue's appearance was very similar to Lan Jiyu-meng. Lang Rui first bowed respectfully to the statue, then looked at Lan Jiyu-meng and said, "This is the goddess statue. As long as the goddess injects her power into it, the goddess statue will guide us to find the power that belongs to the goddess." Lan Jiyu-meng had long wanted to leave. Living here was too depressing. After hearing Lang Rui's words, she immediately went forward and placed her palm on the goddess statue. The power that belonged to the goddess flowed out from her palm. In the next moment, the goddess statue released an intense light. Amidst the endless light, a pair of huge light wings slowly spread out from the back of the goddess statue, enveloping everyone. Chapter 3762. When the light faded, they appeared on a vast grassland. The grass was green, the sky was blue, and the clouds were white. The few of them subconsciously released their soul power to sense the abnormalities around them. Everything was normal. There was no danger. But the grassland was so big. Where should they go? Instinctively, everyone turned to look at Lan Gumeng. Everyone was guided here by her, so there should be a direction, right? Who would have thought that when everyone looked at him, Lan Gumeng would shake his head? He did not know where to go either. They were at a loss. At this moment, Chen said, "Let's find a place to walk. We should find something." Lan Hongyi said, "That's easy for you to say. What if we go the wrong way?" Chen didn't get angry. He looked at her. "What else? Don't you have bad hearing?" Lan Hongyi sneered. Obviously, this was her main goal. This woman was still very vengeful. There was no other way. They could only find a direction. So they gave the choice to Lan Jiyu-meng. Lan Jiyu-meng looked around. She seemed to be thinking carefully. They waited quietly. After a while, she turned around and pointed behind her. "Why don't we go this way?" They didn't have any other choice. Naturally, they didn't have any objections. They followed Lan Jiyu-meng's directions. Just as Chen and the others were walking, Lan Qian, who had caused trouble yesterday, left his room. A carriage was waiting outside. After he got on, the carriage was pulled by a strange beast. Under the driver's control, it left the family and came to the city. The carriage stopped and Lan Qian got off. They walked 2 streets and entered a shop. Then they walked out from the back door. They passed through a small alley and finally entered a restaurant. They asked for a private room and ordered 4 dishes. 3 meat and 1 vegetable. About 15 minutes later, a person entered the private room. Lan Qian was eating. When he felt someone enter, he didn't raise his head. These dishes taste different from usual. Because today's ingredients are good. They were carefully designed and prepared in advance. The newcomer sat across from him. Lan Qian raised his head to look at him, then took out an ancient piece of jade, placed it on the table, and slowly pushed it forward. Ancient objects must be carefully guarded. Whether it is in the sky or in the ground, it will not lose its effect. Lan Qian said, "You must handle this matter beautifully for me." That person took the piece of ancient jade and left without even eating. Lan Qian finished all 4 dishes before leaving the room. After paying the bill at the front desk, he didn't go back immediately. Instead, he wandered around the city leisurely. "Do you really think that this young master is being unreasonable?" Recalling the scene from yesterday, the corners of his mouth couldn't help but curl into a mocking smile. The existence with the ancient jade left the city and went to find a human soul named Ghost King to deal with the matter. His goal was to hand over the ancient jade to the other party. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Are we still going to continue? Lan Hongyi said worriedly as she looked at the unchanging scene in front of her. At this time, the 6 of them had been walking for 2 hours, but they hadn't seen anything except grass. A small beast, a bird, and not even an ant. Seeing that no one responded, Lan Hongyi said again, "Are we going in the wrong direction? Why don't we turn back and try?" Shan Ya and Noah looked at Chen habitually, waiting for him to make a decision. Chen glanced at Lan Jiyu-meng and said, "Do you sense anything unusual?" Lan Jiyu-meng shook her head with an apologetic look. Chen said with a smile, "It doesn't matter. Since we haven't found anything after walking for 2 hours, let's walk for another 2 hours. However, we have to speed up this time. His figure immediately rose into the air and flew forward. After reaching the soul void realm, flying was already an instinct. Shan Ya, Noah, and Lan Jiu Meng didn't hesitate and followed Zi Chen. Lan Hongyi looked at this scene and said helplessly, "Will I also become stupid if I stay with such a brainless guy?" Lan Rui said with a smile, "He's not stupid. Let's go. Although this method is stupid, it's very effective." "You think so highly of him?" "It's not that I think highly of him, but those descenders. Let me ask you, in the many years that the Blue Sand region has existed, have you ever seen any descenders that are stupid?" A cold light flashed in Lan Hongyi's eyes as she said, "The descenders don't have a good reputation. In order to achieve their goals, they will do anything. Dealing with them is no different from asking a tiger for its skin." Lan Rui said indifferently, "Perhaps, but I don't think Zi Chen is such a person." "That's because you haven't met him yet. At a certain critical moment, you will naturally understand." Lan Rui smiled at this. The most critical moment. He had already seen it. At that time, facing the powerful him, Zi Chen had chosen to stay behind and stall for time so that the three of them could escape. To be able to sacrifice himself to save others, he believed that even if Zi Chen was a bad person, he wouldn't be that bad. He believed and firmly believed. This was also the reason why he took the initiative to ask Zi Chen to stay behind. Thus, he followed. Lan Hongyi snorted, but could only follow. Thus, after another 2 hours of flying, the surrounding scenery was still monotonous. It was so monotonous that it gave people a feeling of visual fatigue. It was as if everyone had been walking in circles. Zi Chen stopped and looked into the distance. The three of them also stopped. Lan Hongyi caught up from behind and said with dissatisfaction, "I told you to turn back, but you didn't listen. Now, you've been running for 2 hours for nothing. You're exhausted." Zi Chen retracted his gaze and ignored Lan Hongyi's complaints. He turned to look at Lan Rui and said, "Brother Lan Rui, is there anything strange here?" Lan Rui raised his eyes slightly and said, "What do you mean? Among us, your soul attainments are the highest. Look carefully. Have we fallen into an illusion?" Zi Chen had fallen for Lan Rui's trick in the past, so he was very clear about his soul attainments. Lan Rui smiled bitterly and said, "I had some guesses before and tried to take a look, but I didn't find anything strange. Do you have the strength to take a look?" Zi Chen asked again. "Then I'll try again." Lan Rui naturally understood what Zi Chen meant. A folding fan appeared in his hand, and with a snap, the folding fan opened. This was naturally not to show off. After the folding fan opened, layers of ripples surged out and extended in all directions. Wherever the ripples passed, the surrounding space seemed to distort, but wherever the ripples passed, everything returned to normal. Zi Chen was still looking at Lan Rui, so Lan Rui shouted. The surging ripples began to retreat and enveloped the 6 of them. It was less than 10 feet in radius. The space was constantly rippling, as if someone was stirring up the water. Lan Rui's hand that was holding the folding fan trembled, and his face turned pale. His originally powerful soul power gradually weakened. Buzz. Chapter 3763. The moment the light faded, Lan Rui's body swayed and fell to the ground. Everyone's expression changed. Zi Chen asked, "How are you?" "I'm fine. I'm just not familiar with this soul weapon yet, so I consumed a lot of energy." Lan Rui put away his fan and shook his head. "This place is real. I didn't find any problems." Shan Ya and the others were obviously relieved. Lan Hongyi said to Zi Chen, "You're obviously suspicious. How could there be a problem here?" Lan Rui said, "No, it's also possible that the other party's attainments in the soul far exceed mine. That's why I didn't find anything." "How is that possible? If there really is such an existence, how could we still be alive? We would have been killed by others long ago." Lan Hongyi clearly didn't believe Lan Rui's words. She said directly, "We may have taken the wrong path. Now, what do we do? Do we turn back or continue forward?" Everyone looked at Zi Chen again. Zi Chen said, "We don't have any reference at the moment, so we can't say that our path is wrong. How about this? Let's continue forward and see what's in front of us. After all, we've only been walking for 4 hours. The others naturally didn't have any objections, including Lan Hongyi. She was just complaining, but if she really had to make the decision, she didn't dare to say that she would turn back immediately. So everyone continued forward. Hours passed, and in the end, Lan Hongyi couldn't even complain. She could only accept her fate and continue forward. Zi Chen, who had a calm expression on his face, started to feel a little anxious. There's nothing in this damned place except for grass. At least if an enemy comes, it can prove that we're moving forward and not trapped, right? Lan Hongyi, who had been silent for a long time, couldn't bear it anymore and said weakly. It wasn't because she had used too much energy, but because her heart was tired and her spirit had collapsed. As her voice fell, a light suddenly appeared in front of them. This was the only thing that appeared in the endless grassland. This made her eyes light up and her spirit immediately became excited. At the same time, Zi Chen and the others also recovered their strength. The abnormality proved that they were on the right track. The light in front of them landed, and they were all humans. They wore black clothes and conical bamboo hats, and it was unknown whether it was a coincidence or not, but there were exactly 6 of them. Lan Hongyi said excitedly, "1 each?" Zi Chen shook his head. "Don't act rashly. Brother Lang Rui, restrain them first, then attack them one by one. I need to ask some questions." Lan Rui laughed. "Don't worry, it's just 3 true soul stage and 3 empty soul stage, there's nothing to be afraid of." He walked forward. This time, he didn't even take out his fan. Layers of ripples appeared on his body. These ripples spread out and enveloped the 6 people in front of him. The 6 of them were motionless, as if they had fallen into an illusion. Lan Rui moved forward, but the 6 of them did not move at all. Noah was shocked. Was this the trick that made them walk in vain for a whole day last time? It was indeed extraordinary. Shan Yue and Lan Jiumeng were glad that Lan Rui was on their side. If he was an enemy, it would be troublesome. Lan Hongyi was somewhat pleased. In terms of illusion technique attainments, who could compare to Lan Rui? Right at this time, Zi Chen's expression suddenly changed, and he shouted, "Lan Rui, retreat quickly." In an emergency, he didn't even bother to address Lan Rui as Brother Lang Rui. The 6 people who were originally motionless suddenly exerted force and attacked Lan Rui, who was walking closer. Powerful soul power surged, and these attacks were terrifying, as if they were accumulating power, as if they had been waiting for him to approach. Such an unforeseen event caused Lan Rui's expression to change abruptly. He immediately unfolded the fan in his hand, and countless rays of light flowed out, forming a bright defense in front of him. It had to be said that his reaction was very sharp, and his defense appeared very timely. But the 6 attacks landed almost at the same time, and a powerful force exploded in an instant. Like a huge wave breaking through a dam, Lan Rui's defense was instantly obliterated. Bang! A powerful force reverberated, and Lan Rui flew out backward. The 6 people tapped their feet, their figures rushing forward rapidly, clearly wanting to completely defeat Lan Rui. Furthermore, their speed of charging forward was far faster than Lan Rui's speed of flying backward. Right at this time, a black soul chain appeared, wrapping around Lan Rui's body like a spirit snake. It was precisely Zi Chen who discovered that things were not going well and made a move in time. The soul chain exerted force, and Lan Rui accelerated his retreat. Zi Chen's figure charged forward. When he brushed past Lan Rui, the soul realm power around him erupted. On the black soul power, the power of lightning flickered from time to time. Facing the 6 people's attacks, Zi Chen chose to defend. A defense formed by the power of the soul realm. Several attacks landed on the light screen, causing the light screen to surge continuously, stirring up countless ripples on the surface. Withstanding several attacks, the light screen in front of Zi Chen started to tremble, showing signs of collapsing. Within the light screen, Zi Chen's expression did not change. He clenched his fists, and his soul power gathered towards the light screen. With a bang, the light barrier shattered. The 2 fists were like flood dragons, striking the bodies of the 2 soul realms. Boom! A powerful force shook, and Zi Chen's body slid backward, breaking countless pieces of grass. In front of him, the two Soul Realm experts were sent flying backward. The unforeseen event happened very quickly. Just as Zi Chen retreated, the others finally reacted. The shock that appeared on their faces because of Lan Rui's illusion technique only changed at this moment. Zi Chen retreated more than 100 feet away and reunited with the others. It was not that he was stronger than Lan Rui, but that Lan Rui's attack was hasty, and it was not his strongest defense. They can actually see through my illusion technique, Lan Rui said in surprise. Lang Rui said in surprise. He was just caught off guard, but it was not a big deal. Who are you people? How dare you stop us here? Lan Rui said coldly to the 6 people in front of him. They don't seem to have any intelligence. Zi Chen, who was at the side, said. When they were fighting earlier, although their attacks were swift and fierce, their expressions and eyes did not change much. Moreover, their realms were not high, so they should not be able to ignore Lan Rui's illusion technique. There was only one explanation. There was something wrong with their souls, or rather, they did not have souls in the first place, so they could ignore the illusion technique. Lan Rui also reacted quickly and said, "It seems that they are useless." Zi Chen nodded and said, "Let's end this quickly." 6 people against 6 enemies, and all of them were of the same level. After a fierce battle, Zi Chen's team won as expected. After killing their enemies, the bodies of the 6 conical bamboo-hatted existences began to disintegrate, and they disappeared from the world. The appearance of enemies proved that they were heading in the right direction. The 6 of them moved forward again, and this time, they did not see any enemies for a long time. About 24 hours later, they finally found the second wave of enemies. There were still 6 of them, and they were of the same realm, but their combat strength was clearly stronger than the previous 6. As expected, Zi Chen's side won. Next, they still moved forward, encountering the 3rd wave of enemies, and then the 4th wave of enemies. Just like that, the enemies became stronger and stronger, and it was unknown when they would reach the end. Zi Chen, who was moving forward, suddenly stopped. Everyone looked at him in surprise. Chapter 3764. Hearing Zi Chen's words, the expressions of the 5 people immediately changed. They looked at Zi Chen in disbelief. "Are you sure? We're in an illusion?" Lan Hongyi was in disbelief because she was very confident in Lang Rui's illusion. If the other party's attainment in illusion could suppress Lang Rui, wouldn't he be able to easily kill them? "Zi Chen, this is not a joke." Lang Rui's expression also became serious. Zi Chen pointed to the white clouds in the sky and said, "When we first came, the clouds were in that position. Even the shape was the same. I've been observing these few times, and we're here again. Could it be a coincidence? After all, the enemies we encounter are getting stronger and stronger," Noah said. Clearly, he had doubts about Zi Chen's words. Zi Chen said with certainty, "It can't be a coincidence. If you don't believe me, we can do an experiment." "How?" "It's very simple. Leave one person here. If we're really in an illusion and go around in circles, we'll definitely come back." Their expressions changed once again. "The person who stays behind might encounter danger, so we need a strong person." Zi Chen looked at Lang Rui. Among the group, only he, Lang Rui, and Lan Hongyi were in the Soul Realm. If they really had to leave someone behind, it would be either him or Lang Rui. Unexpectedly, at this moment, Lan Hongyi took the initiative to say, "I can't walk anymore. I'll stay here and wait for you." In the previous few battles, Lan Hongyi's combat strength wasn't weak. However, leaving a girl here alone to face unknown dangers was clearly not a good idea. This should be the best choice. Lang Rui didn't hesitate and nodded in agreement. As a disciple of the Lan family, they should have life-saving methods. Since the 2 of them were willing, Zi Chen could only say goodbye. "Your guess better be true. Otherwise, I won't let you off." Lan Hongyi snorted. Zi Chen said, "If my guess is wrong, then there's almost no chance of us meeting again. So, no matter what, you must be careful." Leaving Lan Hongyi behind, the 5 of them immediately left. Looking at the departing figures of the 5, Lan Hongyi muttered, "You must come back." Asterisk 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 asterisk. As they moved forward, Zi Chen sensed the distance. Because he was worried that something would happen to Lan Hongyi, everyone moved forward at full speed. After 6 hours, Zi Chen estimated that they had walked a path that was longer than the original 12 hours. He said, "Everyone, be careful. Our enemy should be appearing soon." The so-called enemy was none other than the existence with the bamboo hat. As they met again and again, their battle prowess gradually increased. Everyone was on high alert. After another hour, they still didn't see those existences appear. According to the distance, they should have arrived a long time ago, but they still hadn't encountered any enemies. Could it be that he had guessed wrongly? Zi Chen's expression changed. If his guess was wrong, then he would never see Lan Hongyi again. If he left her alone, would she be in danger? Zi Chen's mind was filled with distracting thoughts, and it was difficult for him to remain calm. Hongyi's defense is unparalleled among us. There's no need to worry about her for the time being, said Lan Rui. Everyone was still moving forward without stopping. Another few hours passed. As time passed, Zi Chen's mind was filled with distracting thoughts. This was the first time he had encountered such a situation. Suddenly, the light began to flash, and the enemies in front of them reappeared. This time, it was no longer 6 people, but 5. 2 of them were in the Soul True realm, and 3 were in the Soul Void realm. When he saw the 5 of them, Zi Chen's expression turned ugly. He said in a deep voice, "It's not the distance, it's the time." The 4 of them looked at Zi Chen in confusion. Although the distance we walked is different from the last enemy we encountered, the time it took was the same. Zi Chen said, "The illusion here is also related to time." Before Zi Chen could explain further, the 5 existences wearing bamboo hats had already rushed forward. Try to delay the battle as much as possible. Don't expose your strongest cards. Before Zi Chen met his opponent, he reminded loudly. These bamboo hat men did not have souls and could not speak. They only had strong combat awareness. Zi Chen used his lightning soul power and fought fiercely with a soul realm expert. During this time, he deliberately suppressed some of his strength, so that he only had a small advantage. Noah and the other 2 followed Zi Chen's instructions and deliberately suppressed their strength. Lan Rui, who was fighting, asked, "Why? Are you sure?" After Zi Chen pushed back the enemy with a palm, he said, "Perhaps, we will come here many times to verify it." This battle took a little longer because Zi Chen already had a guess about the current situation. Therefore, he did not have to worry about leaving Lan Hongyi behind. After the battle ended, the 5 of them continued forward. After 8 hours, they successfully saw Lan Hongyi. She was sitting on the grass in a daze. It was obvious that she did not encounter any danger. Sensing the fluctuation of soul power, she immediately turned around and saw Zi Chen's group 100 feet away. She immediately stood up with a smile on her face. "Looks like your eyesight is not bad." On the other hand, Zi Chen's expression became incomparably solemn. Noah and the others' faces were filled with astonishment. This was because they did not see Lan Hongyi at all before. They only saw her when they were 100 feet away. Lan Rui was also deep in thought. "What's wrong?" Lan Hongyi walked forward and saw Zi Chen's abnormal expression. She said, "Are you that unhappy to see me? Do you really want to leave me behind?" Zi Chen said, "Noah, go to the front." Noah nodded and rushed forward. Zi Chen looked at Noah and continued, "Don't be too fast and don't stop. Face me and retreat until I can't be seen." Seeing Zi Chen's serious expression, Lan Hongyi did not try to pester Zi Chen anymore. Instead, she turned around and looked at Noah. Noah retreated in front of everyone until he was 100 feet away. Then, as if he had evaporated into thin air, he disappeared into thin air. How could this be? Lan Hongyi was stunned. At this moment, she could see the grassland several miles away, but she could not see Noah. "You guys continue to stay here." Zi Chen flew forward. After walking 100 feet, he saw Noah, but he could no longer see Lan Rui and the others. On this huge grassland, there were only 2 people. Zi Chen turned back and saw everyone again. At this moment, they were walking towards him. Lan Rui asked, "What did you find?" "It's like we're in a different space." Chapter 3765. Time and Space. The few of them were stunned. They didn't expect it to be so complicated. Mastering any one of the two methods was already very amazing. How powerful was it to be able to combine the two into one? How could they have survived until now when facing such an expert? Zichen was naturally aware of the doubts in everyone's hearts. He explained, perhaps, this isn't man-made, but natural. If that was really the case, not only would they not be able to feel at ease, but they would also feel more despair in their hearts. This was because there were still enemies. If it was natural, how could they leave in a situation where there were no enemies? At this moment, everyone's hearts were at a loss. Soul light appeared on Zichen's body, and he landed on the ground. His soul power turned into flames, igniting the surrounding grass. This was soul fire. Although its attack power was negligible, it had no problem igniting the grass. On this boundless grassland, the flames began to rise, crackling, and smoke billowed, extending in all directions. Everyone's face had a strange expression. They didn't understand what Zichen meant by doing this. The flames quickly reached a radius of 100 feet, and it continued to expand into the distance. 200 feet, 300 feet, Zichen looked at Noah and said, "You go ahead and take a look." Noah walked forward, disappearing 100 feet away. However, he soon appeared again and said loudly, "It's not burning, and it's intact. It seems that every space exists independently." Zichen walked forward again. This time, the others also followed. After they left, the burning flames in this world came to a momentary standstill. In the next moment, the flames disappeared, and everything returned to normal. Asterisk 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 asterisk. This is too magical. I clearly saw that the flames had already extended for nearly 1,000 feet. The entire world was burning, but this place is actually intact. Lan Hongyi looked at the green grassland around her, and her eyes were filled with amazement. The others were also the same. "Let's go back and take a look." Zichen turned back, but after seeing the scene in front, his face couldn't help but change. The others also cried out in alarm. The flames and ruins had disappeared, and everything had returned to normal. In the sky, the white clouds were still there. What's going on? The few of them looked at Zichen. This scene was too strange. Lan Rui said with certainty, "This is not an illusion. I am sure that this is a real place. The ground under our feet, the grass, and the white clouds are all real." Zichen said, "It is indeed real, but this is a closely connected independent space. In these spaces, time is still." "What do you mean?" They obviously didn't understand what Zichen was talking about. Zichen pointed at his feet and said, "For example, this place is boundless. This is a real space. But everything here is still. The white clouds won't change shape with the wind, and there isn't even a reflection. The grass won't grow, and it won't wither." Lan Rui said, "If it is a static space, then we should also be static, right?" The others also nodded. "In a static space, no one should be able to move." Zichen said in a deep voice, "This is the strange thing about this place. It doesn't work on people like us, so we can easily walk from one space to another. This is the range of 300 meters that you saw before. But you also saw before that the burning flames can only stay in this space. They can extend to hundreds or even thousands of meters." Looking at the few people who seemed to understand, Zichen said, "Also, it is not space that is static, but time. If time was frozen at a certain moment, then it would always be at that moment. Even if it was our arrival that caused the situation here to change, once we left, the frozen time and space would combine, and everything would return to the scene before we arrived. That is, what we saw in the second scene. The flames disappeared, and so did the burning embers. Everything returned to normal. Well, to put it simply, we are trapped in this special space. Time here is still static. If we can't find a way to break out of this space or stop time, we will keep circling here until we lose our lives. However, when it comes to time and space, it is impossible for us to break out of this place and leave with our strength. Even those at the human soul realm don't have the strength to do so." Everyone did not understand what he said before, but after hearing this sentence, everyone understood, so their faces turned pale. This was clearly a dangerous place. This is the place where the goddess statue guided us. It is the land of opportunity for the goddesses. Why would it deliberately trap us? Lan Rui said in disbelief, "Is there a mistake?" Zi Chen said with a wry smile, "I also hope that I am mistaken, but from the looks of it, that is indeed the case." Then where is the opportunity? Opportunity? Zi Chen glanced at Lan Rui. "How many of you goddesses have come here and obtained the opportunity here?" Lan Rui was stunned when he heard this, and then he did not say a word. Not a single one. In history, not a single goddess had successfully grown to awaken. Not a single one. Lan Jiyu Meng was the only one. But this is a land of opportunity after all. How could it deliberately trap us to death? Lan Rui was still unable to accept this reality, and the others were the same. A land of opportunity had suddenly become a dangerous place, and even a graveyard for everyone. No one could accept it. Perhaps many years ago, this was just a very small test that involved space and time. However, it was not perfect. With a little effort, one could break the pattern and obtain the reward. However, countless years have passed. The person who set the trap back then might have already passed away, and the goddesses have yet to come. The pattern here automatically absorbed the soul power of heaven and earth, replenishing itself bit by bit, and finally reached the perfect state we see today. Zi Chen said, "And it was at this time that we arrived." Swish. With that said, everyone's expression changed drastically. This time, everyone felt despair in their hearts. This was because what Zi Chen said was not impossible. "Sorry." At this moment, a timid voice came from behind. It was Lan Jiyu Meng. She had a guilty look on her face. She thought that she would be in a good mood after leaving the oppressive Lan family. Who would have thought that she would lead everyone into a dangerous place? The one who should be saying sorry is not you. Zi Chen looked at Lan Jiyu Meng and said, "Let's continue forward. You can sense it carefully. Perhaps you can find some abnormalities." Lan Jiyu Meng nodded. In fact, Zi Chen's words were just to comfort her. If she could really find any abnormalities, Lan Jiyu Meng would have sensed it long ago. It seemed that this time, he had really fallen for it. They walked again. After about 8 hours, they encountered the enemy. This time, Zi Chen did not let Lan Jiyu Meng participate in the battle. Instead, he let her sense it from the side. After the battle ended, Lan Jiyu Meng shook her head in shame. Chapter 3766. Frustration spread among them. Before coming here, they had thought of all kinds of possibilities, all kinds of dangers, and even a situation where they had a slim chance of survival. But no matter what, they never thought that they would be trapped in a special space without any enemies. Kai. A ray of light soared into the sky, cutting through the sky, leaving a white trace. Noah's soul power surged, trying to break out of this place. Obviously, it was impossible, unless he had the power to break through space and time. Zi Chen sat on the ground and looked up at the sky in a daze. Compared to the others, he did not make unnecessary attempts. Shan Ya was also attacking the sky. All kinds of fierce attacks soared into the sky. Naturally, it was useless. Zi Chen took out the black jade slip and began to comprehend it. After seeing this scene, Lan Hongyi couldn't help but feel a little angry. "You still have the mood to cultivate at this time? What else can I do? Hurry up and think of a way to leave. Cultivation is the best way. Instead of wasting soul power in this place, it's better to cultivate and strengthen yourself." The black jade slip recorded the holy talisman technique. Zi Chen was still a step away from completely comprehending it. On the contrary, the recovery technique that he obtained later had already made progress and was progressing very quickly. After completely exhausting his soul power, Zi Chen gestured for everyone to continue moving forward. Everyone had no other choice but to listen to Zi Chen's arrangement. They walked for another 8 hours and returned to the original place. In these 8 hours, Zi Chen's soul power recovered again, so he stayed at the original place and continued to comprehend the black jade slip. Perhaps influenced by Zi Chen, Shan Ya also began to cultivate not long after, and her heart slowly calmed down. In the end, everyone began to cultivate. Although the frustration in their hearts was still there, their mood had calmed down. Time passed like this, day by day. Occasionally, someone would walk forward alone, and it would take a total of 24 hours to return to the original place. Noah, who returned after walking around, set a fire here again, so the flames extended as if the whole world was ignited. The air began to distort, and thick smoke billowed. Noah's gaze was fixated on the sea of flames in the distance. A soul weapon flew out from his body and chased after the sea of flames. If it was any other time, he would definitely ask Lan Jiu Meng to sense it again to see if there were any abnormalities. However, after trying so many times, he had long become numb to it. Right now, he was only venting the dissatisfaction in his heart. Not all of them were in despair. The only thing they were thankful for was that they didn't feel hungry and didn't need to eat in this place. Furthermore, the soul energy in the world was quite dense. It was quite beneficial for cultivation. Wherever the soul weapon passed, streaks of green light would extend out from it. At this moment, it was as if a lot of fuel had been added to the already ferocious flames, causing them to surge once more. This was Noah's green power, which could be transformed into the power of the wind and increase the intensity of the fire. When he was bored, he would travel alone for a few hours and look for those who wore bamboo hats to fight. It was a good way to hone his battle instincts. Zichen spent all day meditating on the black jade piece and almost never left this place. Time passed, and he had long lost track of time. On this day, Lan Hongyi, Shan Ya, and Lan Jiu Meng had just returned after walking for 24 hours. During this period of time, they had gradually gained a better understanding of this place. They had walked for 24 hours, which could be considered as finding joy in the midst of hardship. The three girls talked and laughed along the way. It was obvious that they were in a good mood with someone accompanying them. During this period of time, no one mentioned the word leave. They were all deliberately avoiding this word. Suddenly, a light trembling sound came from the sky. Lan Rui sensed the abnormality and immediately raised his head to look at the sky. He saw ripples in the sky, and at the center of the ripples, it seemed like something was about to appear. Lan Rui immediately stood up. His expression was full of vigilance. Could it be that an enemy had appeared? In the next moment, the others also sensed the abnormality, and their expressions changed. They had stayed here for so long. Could it be that something had really happened? At the same time, Zichen also put away the black jade piece. He, who had consumed a lot of soul power, also stood up and looked at the sky. He saw that a passage had appeared in the surging ripples. The moment they saw this passage, everyone's face revealed excitement. This included Zichen himself. Since a passage had appeared, did it mean that they could leave, or enter the next level of the test? It seemed that this place was indeed worthy of being called the trial ground of the Heavenly Maiden. Even if everyone was helpless in this situation, they still chose another path for everyone. However, before everyone could rise into the air and leave this place, they saw a light figure appear in the passage. The light figure rushed out and turned into a person. When the other party appeared, he had a blank look on his face as he scanned his surroundings. However, the moment he saw Zichen and the others, the blank look in his eyes disappeared, and there was a flash of light in his eyes. Then, he shouted loudly, "Found the target, come quickly." That existence looked at Zichen with cold killing intent in his eyes. "Zichen, die." When Zichen heard this stranger's voice, he could not help but be surprised. The other party had actually come for him. However, no matter what the other party's motive was, it was an extremely good thing for everyone. Therefore, Zichen did not say anything and soared into the sky. The aura of the Soul True Realm erupted. Feeling this pressure, the expression of the Soul Void Realm expert could not help but change. He cried out involuntarily, You actually broke through to the Soul True Realm?" As soon as he finished speaking, Zichen rushed forward, his entire body colliding with the other party. With a loud bang, the other party was directly sent flying by Zichen. Time was of the essence. Zichen did not care about killing people. He immediately flashed to the front of the ripple passage, preparing to control his soul power to stabilize this passage first. In an extremely short period of time, he had already determined that this was the only way for them to leave. Once they missed it, they would stay here forever. As for how these people came in, Zi Chen did not care at all. What he wanted to know was how everyone could leave. However, just as he arrived at the entrance of the passage, an even more powerful force came from the front, causing the space here to become extremely unstable. It was as if a violent torrent surged out from within, causing Zi Chen to retreat continuously, distancing himself from the passage. Following that, figures appeared one after another. They were all powerful existences. Other than the Soul Void Realm experts, there were also many Soul True Realm experts. After they appeared, they coldly swept their gazes forward. Killing intent surged out from their bodies, filling every inch of space. There were quite a number of people. Zi Chen landed and looked up at the sky. The others rushed to Zi Chen's side. "It's a good thing and a bad thing," Zi Chen said in a deep voice, "although I don't know where they came from, as long as we get rid of them, I believe we can return." Following that, Zi Chen noticed something strange. He turned his head and looked not far away. He saw Lan Jiyu Meng standing there in a daze. Lan Jiyu Meng seemed to have been petrified. She stood there without moving, confusion in her eyes. "Be careful," Zi Chen cried out in alarm. His figure immediately disappeared from the spot. In the next moment, he had already appeared beside Lan Jiyu Meng. He hugged her and disappeared from the spot. A huge beam of light landed where Lan Jiyu Meng was standing. The ground rumbled and a huge crater appeared. Waves of air tumbled into the distance. In the sky, a holy talisman dissipated. The Soul True Realm expert controlling the holy talisman had a hint of regret in his eyes. Zi Chen, who had dodged to the side with Lan Jiyu Meng, shouted loudly, "Their target is the Holy Maiden. Don't hold back." The people who had appeared previously had recognized Zi Chen at a glance. However, the real killing move had landed on Lan Jiyu Meng. Clearly, these people's real target was not Zi Chen but Lan Jiyu Meng. "Kill." Lan Rui did not hesitate. He immediately shouted and rushed into the sky. Ripples of light surged out from his body and enveloped the surroundings. This was his unique technique. Illusion technique. Every existence that came into contact with these ripples had a confused look in their eyes. At this moment, a sharp light appeared and swept forward. The sharp light swept past the necks of those existences. Blood splattered and heads flew high into the sky. Clearly, Lan Rui, who usually looked very gentle, was also a decisive person. However, when several people died, a sharp attack descended from the sky and headed straight for Lan Rui. This was an existence that was not affected by the illusion technique. His cultivation had already reached the Soul True Realm. He held a soul weapon tightly in his hand. Taking advantage of the moment when Lan Rui attacked, he attacked with the intention of killing in one blow. Who knew that at this moment, light would flow out in front of Lan Rui. A folding fan opened up in the air and blocked this soul weapon. Clang! A sonorous sound rang out and a powerful force shook. Lan Rui's figure fell from the sky and landed on the ground. Bang! Lan Rui's figure landed on the ground and another deep crater appeared on the ground. Smoke and dust flew up. This was the soul weapon that Lan Rui had obtained from the treasury last time. Wind, rise. The smoke and dust in the surroundings danced wildly and gathered together. It was like a tornado that swept towards the sky. It was Noah's attack. After obtaining the Imperial Wind technique, this was the first time Noah used his full strength. Borrowing the smoke and dust that filled the sky, the hurricane howled forward. And within the hurricane, sharp wind blades appeared one after another. After these wind blades landed on the bodies of those Soul True Realm experts, they immediately turned into sharp attacks. Like wind blades, they sliced towards those Soul True Realm experts. The soul power defense that formed around their bodies emitted sizzling sounds when faced with these wind blades. Very soon, it shattered. Blood splattered along with it, bringing with it a wave of miserable cries. Boom! Right at this moment, a terrifying blade fell from the sky, directly splitting the hurricane into two. Another Soul True Realm expert made a move. Zi Chen raised his head and looked at the sky. Sensing the powerful aura surging there, his expression changed. Chapter 3767. In the sky, rays of light flashed and one existence after another appeared. The aura of empty soul and real soul surged violently in the sky, bringing with it a strong pressure. Shan Ya flew towards the sky. She was only at the soul void realm. An existence who was also at the soul void realm dived down after appearing from the passageway. Shan Ya's body lit up. It was just a soul light without any power attribute. When the other party saw this scene, a disdainful sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. Obviously, he had not even found his own power. Of course, his combat power would not be that strong. His body surged with a fiery aura. He had already found his own power. The two of them were about to meet and their powers were about to touch. At this moment, a strong aura suddenly flowed out of Shan Ya's body. It still did not have the attribute of soul power, but the aura became incomparably fierce. The expression of the soul void realm changed. He felt a strong threat from that aura. A ray of light lit up in front of him, but he changed from attack to defense. A bright light shield appeared in front of him. The strength of the other party would be revealed very soon. Kai. The two of them separated upon contact. The fierce ray of light that appeared from Shan Ya's palm disappeared instantly. The body of the soul void realm froze. Shan Ya stood behind him. The two of them crossed each other's bodies. The defensive light on the soul void realm's body had already shattered. A thin red mark appeared on his neck. His eyes were wide open, filled with disbelief. His defense was actually broken down in an instant. What kind of power was that? The luster in his eyes dimmed and he lost all his vitality. Shan Ya destroyed the enemy with one blow. That was a power called nothing. It was also Shan Ya's own attribute power. It was rare in the world and could even be said to be one of a kind. The reason why she could find this kind of power was thanks to the jade slip she got from the Lan family's treasure vault. It could be said that it was tailor-made for Shan Ya. Just like the black jade slip for Zi Chen, only she could use it. This heaven-blessed who came from the Card Tower world showed her ability for the first time in this world. Fully aware of the current situation, Shan Ya did not hold back in the slightest when she attacked. Then, she brushed past the second soul void realm expert. In front of Shan Ya, the opponent's soul power defense was like paper. Her attack instantly tore through the defense and landed on the opponent's body. Blood splattered everywhere. Another soul void realm expert died. On the other side, Lan Hongyi was wearing battle armor and wielding a battle sword. She looked like a war goddess as she charged at the Soul True Realm expert in the air. That battle armor was the one she had obtained from the treasury previously. Its killing power was astonishing, and the Soul True Realm expert was sent flying with a single slash. This battle was of utmost importance. If they couldn't defeat them before the passage closed, then everyone would have to stay here forever. Lan Rui was also fighting against a Soul Realm expert. Powerful energy kept surging. At this moment, everyone was using their full strength. A streak of light streaked past Zi Chen, heading towards the sky. It was the soul weapon that Lan Jiu Meng obtained last time. Like a bolt of lightning, it swept past the chest of a soul void realm expert, piercing through. This existence whose heart was pierced immediately lost his life force, and his body fell to the ground. Looking at the scene in the sky, Zi Chen was a little surprised. Clearly, he didn't expect that after no longer hiding, everyone's strength would be so powerful. Everyone had already made their move. Of course, he couldn't fall behind. His figure immediately soared into the sky, heading straight for a Soul True Realm expert. Boom! Violent energy surged. That Soul True Realm expert was sent flying by Zi Chen's punch. Powerful energy fluctuations swept through the sky. Zi Chen's figure flashed and chased up, landing another punch. Soul Shock Art. Layers of soul power ripples surged into the opponent's body, producing a powerful shock force, causing the soul power that the Soul True Realm expert had just condensed to be scattered again. And Zi Chen followed like a shadow. With a cold gaze, he punched out again. The third punch. Soul Destruction. The powerful energy was like a torrent, surging into the opponent's body, destroying his life force. When his body crashed to the ground, his surging life force had already dissipated. 3 punches had killed a Soul True Realm expert. Such a powerful battle strength caused the hearts of the enemies on the battlefield to be shocked. However, the battle didn't stop because of this. Several holy talismans flew towards Zichen. Pa! Pa! The holy talismans exploded in the air and flew out like lightning, heading straight for his body. Looking at these incoming attacks, Zichen also used the holy talisman to form a defense and then rushed forward. After rushing out of the attack range, Zichen's defense was also broken. He rushed towards the second Soul True Realm expert. When this Soul True Realm expert saw Zichen's arrival, his expression changed slightly, but he didn't panic. Instead, he immediately retreated. During this time, a holy talisman landed on his leg, causing his speed to increase significantly. Immediately after, he threw out several more saint talismans. One attack after another fell from the sky, blocking Zichen's path. After shattering several attacks in a row, Zichen turned around and left. That guy was clearly a descender and should have many holy talismans on him. It wouldn't be easy to catch up and kill him in a short period of time. In comparison, Zichen was more willing to fight with the natives of this world. That kind of fist-to-flesh attack could determine life and death in an extremely short period of time. Seeing Zichen retreat, the Soul True Realm expert smiled slightly. He didn't retreat just like that. Instead, he moved forward again and launched another attack at Zichen. These attacks weren't enough to kill Zichen, but it wasn't a problem to delay him for a while. He knew very well how many experts had been dispatched for this mission. Therefore, as long as he delayed for a while, more experts would descend here. A holy talisman spread out and formed a defense around Zichen, blocking an attack that descended from the sky. He ignored the constant harassment of the holy talisman master. Right now, he had to seize the time and kill some Soul True Realm experts first. Otherwise, the pressure on everyone would increase. On Shan Ya's side, he, who possessed powerful killing power, had already been targeted by a Soul True Realm expert. Both Nuo Ya and Lan Gumeng had also encountered extremely difficult opponents. Lan Hongyi's opponent had gone from 1 to 2. She was currently being besieged. It was the same on Lan Rui's side. There were two people who were also proficient in soul power working together to restrain him. His illusion techniques were clearly countered by the two of them. The battle was currently very unfavorable for them. In the sky, there was still an endless stream of experts coming in from the passage. Zichen, who was rapidly approaching the enemy, had an increasingly ugly expression. There were too many enemies. At this moment, the sky suddenly trembled, and even the passage trembled slightly. Immediately after, the aura of the human soul realm surged out. Chapter 3768. As soon as the aura of the human soul realm was released, Zichen and the others fell into despair. Not to mention escaping through the passage, they might not even be able to keep their lives. Let's go. Zichen decisively gave up chasing the target and turned to leave. Now that they were about to lose their lives, who would care about the passage? It seemed that when people were at their most desperate, they would always make the choice to give up their bottom line. For example, they came here for the opportunity of the ferry, but after discovering that they were trapped, they all became depressed and did not care about the opportunity at all. After seeing the passage appear, they could give up everything and decisively choose to leave. But now that their lives were in danger, they made the choice again. Compared to dying on the spot immediately, it seemed that being trapped here was not so unacceptable. If they could choose, they would rather these people not appear and this place remain peaceful. Unfortunately, there was no such choice. The 6 of them began to flee without hesitation like 6 bolts of lightning. But this time, what surprised Zichen was that even after running 100 feet, the pursuers behind them were still there, which was obviously different from his previous experience. This made Zichen's expression change. With a flash of light in front of him, he took out the transmission talisman that he had prepared long ago. Buzz! The transmission talisman was activated, and a light enveloped the 6 of them. But when they disappeared, a powerful force suddenly invaded. It was the human soul realm expert. But his reaction was still a little too late, and Zichen and the others had already disappeared. The light dissipated, and looking at the empty space ahead, the human soul realm expert smiled faintly and said, "They're not far away, chase them. The group of powerful existences chased in the direction that the human soul realm expert was pointing. Asterisk 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 asterisk. With a flash of light, Zi Chen and the others reappeared. The transmission had been destroyed, so the transmission distance was shortened by a lot. As soon as they appeared, their faces turned pale. Let's keep going, Zi Chen said in a deep voice while looking into the distance. At this moment, there seemed to be an inexplicable light flickering in his eyes. Lan Hongyi took out a transmission talisman, which was flowing with light. Obviously, she was going to activate it and leave. At this moment, Zi Chen reached out and grabbed her wrist, stopping her. Don't waste it for now. Let's go straight ahead. Lan Hongyi stared at Zi Chen and said discontentedly, You're still thinking of saving at a time like this? Zi Chen let go of the other's wrist and said, They're trouble after all. We can't keep running like this. We have to think of a way to get rid of them. Lan Hongyi immediately guessed Zi Chen's intention. Her eyes lit up. What do you mean? That's our only chance. However, the human soul realm cultivators behind us are also there. Without using the teleportation formation, we have to run at full speed. Zi Chen's goal this time was to bring all those people to the space where the man in the bamboo hat appeared. That was the only place where they could turn the tables. And in that place, the number of men in bamboo hats would increase as the number of people increased. While Zi Chen increased his speed, the pursuers behind him were also giving chase at a steady pace. Among them, a saint symbol master gazed at the faintly discernible figure in front of him as a smile involuntarily rose from the corners of his mouth. I never imagined that you would have such a day. Beside him was another saint talisman master. When he heard this, he also laughed. He really does look like a stray dog. This time, in order to deal with Zi Chen, the Ghost King had sent out a total of 10 Soul True Realm cultivators and more than 20 Soul Void Realm cultivators. Putting those Soul Void Realm cultivators aside, among the Soul True Realm cultivators, there were 2 descenders who were specially used to counter Zi Chen. There were also 3 people with extremely strong soul power attainments who were used to deal with the Lan family's Lan Rui. As for the Soul True Realm cultivator called Lan Hongyi, there were also people who were specially assigned to deal with her. It could be said that they had already obtained enough information. The combat power they sent out was enough to kill Zi Chen's group. Before they came, the order they received was that except for a person called Shan Ya, everyone else had to die. This included the successor of the Lan family. Of course, this did not include the human soul realm cultivators at the back. It could be said that this was a sure-kill situation. Zi Chen's group would definitely die. There was no suspense. Hu Tai, isn't our speed a little too slow? On the other side, a Soul True Realm cultivator said, Shouldn't we catch up and kill the enemy in one go? The descender named Hu Tai said with a smile, What's the hurry? Don't you think this scene is very interesting? They are being chased like stray dogs. This is very rare. The mission is the most important. The Soul True Realm cultivator in charge of suppressing Lan Rui said in a deep voice. Don't worry, the mission must be completed. It's just that Zi Chen is extremely cunning, much more cunning than you think. We must not split up. As long as everyone continues to chase like this, they can only die. Hu Tai said, taking a step back, even if we chase until our strength is exhausted, they won't be any better. In this way, we have the advantage of numbers. Killing them will be as easy as flipping our hands. Are we just going to keep following like this? The other party was clearly still somewhat unwilling. What else can we do? Hu Tai said with a smile, Xiaomor, why don't you go to the back and find that lord and discuss with him? Let him use some methods to directly eliminate those guys. Wouldn't that save us a lot of trouble? The Soul True Realm cultivator named Xiaomor snorted. His lord had already made a move once, so it was impossible for him to make a move now. As a human soul realm cultivator, he was only here to provide support and prevent accidents from happening. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he would not make a move. After all, a human soul realm cultivator was already a king of a region. He still needed to maintain some face. Everyone, hurry up. We can't let them run so easily. We must turn them into stray dogs. The corners of Hu Tai's mouth curled up into a smile. Zichen, I'll definitely publicize your magnificent feat when we get back. At that time, I'll let the entire Sacred Thunder tribe know that a stray dog like you doesn't have the qualifications to participate in the core assessment. The chase continued like this. When they were about to be caught, Zichen used the transportation charm again. The human soul realm cultivator who had not made a move all this time interfered with them again, preventing them from shaking off the others. However, this was also the result that Zichen had always wanted. Therefore, after several hours of chasing, Zichen's group of 6 finally arrived at the designated place. This time, they did not continue forward but stopped. He immediately turned around and faced the pursuers. Hu Tai, who quickly caught up, changed his expression slightly and slowed down his speed. Zichen said coldly, "Reckless fools, how dare you chase us here? Since you can't wait to die, I'll fulfill your wish." Zichen raised his hand and shouted, "Where are the reinforcements?" Hu Tai's heart tightened and he immediately looked around. The others did the same. Lan Jiu Meng, Noah, and Shan Ya, who were standing behind Zichen, quietly took a few steps back. 6 beams of light descended from the sky and turned into 6 men in bamboo hats. 3 empty Soul Realm experts and 3 real Soul Realm experts came forward. Chapter 3769. Hu Tai's expression was abnormally ugly. He clearly did not expect Zichen to have such a trump card. Fortunately, there were only 6 reinforcements. It was not a large number, so it was still acceptable. At this moment, Zichen's group was also charging forward, but they did not meet up with the 6 people. If one looked carefully, they would quickly discover some clues. It was just that Hu Tai and the others had a preconceived notion that the 6 people were on Zichen's side. Hu Tai waved his hand and said coldly, "Leave no one alive." The murderous crowd quickly rushed forward and spread out in all directions, preparing to surround and attack the 12 people. In terms of numbers, they had an absolute advantage. Hu Tai took a step forward and holy talismans flew out from his body. The holy talismans shattered in the sky, forming a powerful attack that poured down. In the face of these attacks, Zichen did not dodge. A holy talisman also appeared above his head, forming a defensive light formation that enveloped them. In an instant, many attacks fell. Zichen's huge defensive light barrier began to distort. Energy rumbled as powerful fluctuations constantly spread out. On the other side, the others had already launched attacks on the 6 people in bamboo hats. In the face of such a powerful attack, the people in bamboo hats were constantly retreating. The crowd followed closely, clearly not planning to let anyone go. Unexpectedly, at this moment, more light fell from the sky. This time, it was not just 1 or 2, but dozens. Among these people, there were a total of 10 people in the Soul Realm. The rest were all soul illusions. They all wore bamboo hats and their expressions were cold. Such an unforeseen event caused everyone to be stunned. Even the expression of the human soul stage expert in the distance changed. "Damn it, why are there so many reinforcements?" Hu Tai could not help but curse. This scene was far beyond his expectations. At this moment, a loud rumble came from the front. It was Zichen charging out of the violent energy and flying towards him. Knowing how powerful Zichen was, Hu Tai immediately retreated, not forgetting to increase his speed. At this moment, the surroundings were already in a chaotic battle. Hu Tai's people were already fighting with the people in bamboo hats. "What should we do now?" Lan Rui asked in a deep voice. Zichen looked around and said, "Let's retreat first." As he spoke, Zichen threw out dozens of sacred talismans. He was a sacred talisman master himself, so he naturally wouldn't forget this. The holy talisman shattered in the sky and turned into giant arms. They descended from the sky and launched attacks in all directions, sending many people flying. Taking advantage of the energy tremors, Zichen's group of 6 took advantage of the chaos to escape. "Don't kill them, just injure them." While moving forward, Zichen arrived in front of a Soul Void Realm expert. With a single palm strike, he sent that expert flying towards those bamboo hat men. Then, he swiftly moved forward. Lang Rui and the others also followed suit, although they didn't know what Zichen's intention was. The group of people took advantage of the chaos and successfully escaped from the battlefield, running towards the depths. "Stop them. Don't let them escape," Hu Tai shouted loudly. However, at this moment, everyone was busy with their own affairs. Naturally, they did not have the ability to stop the other party. Helpless, Hu Tai could only turn around and bow towards the sky. "Sir, please stop them for a moment. After I've dealt with the matters here, I'll go and kill them." A powerful aura descended. Immediately after, a figure of light flew forward. It was the human soul realm expert. The other party was prepared to stop Zi Chen's group of 6. Who knew that at this moment, another aura of the same level would appear. Another bamboo hat man descended from the sky. Sensing the aura around the other party, everyone's expression changed greatly. No one could have expected that Zi Chen's side was actually hiding such a powerful ally. The two human soul realm experts began to fight. After successfully escaping from the group, Zi Chen signaled for everyone to speed up. "Why don't we just kill them directly?" Lang Rui asked in confusion. "This should be our best chance, right?" Zi Chen shook his head and said, "No, our best chance is next time." The bamboo hat men that appeared this time did not have strong battle prowess. They will quickly deal with them. Moreover, without knowing the situation, they will attack without holding back. Therefore, the next time they appear, their battle prowess will be much stronger. Lang Rui said, "But this way, they will be on guard. It will be impossible for us to catch them off guard." Zi Chen said, "They will indeed be on guard. However, they don't know the layout of this place. Naturally, they won't know that we are going in circles. Therefore, we need to make full use of the time. We need to let them catch up to us during the 24 hours. 24 hours later, Zi Chen's group would arrive at their current location, which would be the time when the bamboo hat men would appear for the second time. At that time, everyone's life and death would be decided. After using all their strength, the battle quickly came to an end. These bamboo hat men seemed to be unable to withstand a single blow. Hu Tai stared at the messy battlefield, his face somewhat ashen. Beside him, Xiao Mo, who was slightly injured, said in a low voice, "This guy is truly crafty. I didn't expect him to have such allies." Hu Tai said with a gloomy face, "Perhaps, they are not allies." "What do you mean?" Xiao Mo was somewhat puzzled. Hu Tai stared ahead. There, two human souls were still fighting. The experts on their side had already suppressed the bamboo hat men. Recalling the bamboo hat men's appearance, Hu Tai said, if they really had so many allies, they wouldn't have appeared several times. This should be a test, and a test for everyone. "What, a test?" Xiao Mo was taken aback. Then, he reacted with an angry expression and said, "Damned guy. I was wondering why it was so coincidental that the enemies who appeared were of the same level as us." Hu Tai said, "It's not that they are of the same level. Not only are they of the same level, but they also have the same number of people. The 6 people who appeared first were not allies. They should be the enemies of Zi Chen's group. It's just that we didn't know and were used. So, we were killed with a borrowed knife," Xiao Mo said angrily. "Sort of. But fortunately, we didn't suffer any losses, so it's just a little bit of trouble. Now that the trouble has been dealt with, it's time for them to die." Looking at the battle between the human souls still going on in the sky, he said in a low voice, "Everyone, follow me." Everyone quickly followed. Some of those who were injured began to treat their wounds halfway through the journey. The chase lasted for several hours, but Hu Tai still couldn't find any trace of Zi Chen. "Could he have run away?" Xiao Mo said worriedly. "This is the grassland. There is no end to it. Where can they run to? We wasted a lot of time in the previous battle. They must have run far away. But as long as we keep chasing, we will definitely catch up to them." Sure enough, after a few hours, they finally saw Zi Chen's figure. Even though it was just a black dot, it still made everyone extremely excited. "Everyone, follow me quickly," Hu Tai shouted coldly and rushed forward. Kill. Chapter 3770. Compared to Hu Tai, who had rushed over in a hurry, Chen and the others had finished their work once and for all. Everyone had already recovered to their peak condition while they were waiting for the others. Thus, a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth when he heard the battle cries behind him. He raised his head to look at the path ahead and said, "We should speed up so that they won't be wary." Because he knew the exact location, Chen could use his own speed to estimate when they would be caught and when the bamboo hat men would appear. Hu Tai became even more pleased when he saw Chen increase his speed. Clearly, this was no longer a trap, because Chen had stopped in the previous trap. Soul power surged, and one figure after another streaked across the sky. Everyone was very fast, and the distance between the two sides was getting closer and closer. Hu Tai could even see the panicked expressions on their faces, and he became even more pleased with himself as he laughed heartily. Chen, today is the day you die." At this moment, Chen suddenly turned around, and there was a mocking look in his eyes. "Are you sure? Today is the day I die, and not yours." Hu Tai was shocked when he saw the change in Chen's expression. Was he plotting against him again? However, when he saw that the 5 people still didn't stop, he shouted, "Are you trying to trick me? Don't let them escape. Don't let a single one of them go today." The people behind didn't stop at all, and whistled forward. Now that the two sides had met, they naturally wouldn't rest until one of them was dead. Chen's mocking expression froze. This time, it was Hu Tai's turn to express his disdain. He coldly said, "Do you think I'll fall for the same trick twice?" Chen turned around and left decisively. Hu Tai laughed loudly. Chen was an idiot. He actually wanted to scare him. If he was really scared, wouldn't he let him escape again? However, his laughter quickly came to an abrupt end, because light figures appeared in front of him again, one after another. These light figures were all bamboo hat men, and there was a powerful aura surging around them. When they appeared, Chen and the other 5 who were charging forward immediately turned back. "Kill without mercy." Chen's cold voice rang out, and the surrounding temperature seemed to drop significantly. At this moment, Chen was truly filled with murderous intent. "Kill." Hu Tai's face was filled with anger. He never thought that he would be tricked again. However, he was not afraid because those conical hat men could not even withstand a single blow. They had many people, so they could still completely destroy them. Only after facing these bamboo hat men did Hu Tai realize that this was not the case. The bamboo hat men that appeared this time were much stronger than he had imagined. What made Hu Tai even more depressed was that these bamboo hat men seemed to be Chen's allies. As soon as they appeared, they attacked his people. In fact, it wasn't that the man in the bamboo hat wanted to help Chen. It was just that Hu Tai had too many people, so he naturally went to them first. A chaotic battle broke out. Shan Ya utilized the power of nothing and clashed with a soul void realm. It was like they had met their nemesis. In front of the supreme power, the soul void realm could not unleash the strength they should have and was instantly defeated. In the next moment, the soul void realm died. On the other side, Noah, who had found his own power, could almost sweep through the soul void realm. It was just that his killing power was much weaker than Shan Ya's. The soul weapon beside Lan Jiu Meng was extremely extraordinary. It was also harvesting the lives of soul void realm experts. Stop them first. Hu Tai, who was already held back by 2 bamboo hat men, roared angrily. If these 3 guys were allowed to continue killing, then the soul void realm experts this time would probably all die. Immediately, 3 soul void realm experts abandoned the battle and flew towards Shan Ya's group. Right at this moment, Chen's figure appeared and blocked one of them. The moment the 2 people's power collided, Chen's figure retreated, avoiding an attack from behind. The one who launched this attack was the Soul Void Realm Bamboo Hat Man. In front of Chen, the Soul Void Realm expert was sent flying. Coincidentally, there was also a Soul Void Realm Bamboo Hat Man at the place where he landed. Stabilizing his body, Chen looked ahead and said with a sneer, "Enjoy this feast." Nearly 100 holy talismans flew out in front of him. To a saint talisman master, as long as he had a holy talisman, his combat strength would be endless. Right now, there were enemies all around, so he no longer had any scruples. The power of thunder poured down in torrents, bringing with it a vast aura. During this time, there were some huge arms of light that whistled past, sweeping out in all directions. Zichen swam in the vibrating energy, harvesting one life after another. There were enemies and bamboo hat men. In any case, they were all stolen in passing. Fart. Blood splattered. An enemy's head flew up. It was a soul void realm expert. Right now, with Zichen's realm, facing a soul void realm expert was completely bullying. But facing such a situation, he clearly could not care about morality. To them, the most important thing right now was to live. Because there were too many soul void realm experts, only by killing them first could they deal with those soul void realm experts with peace of mind. Kai. A sharp light flew out from Zichen's fingertip, cutting open the body of a bamboo hat man who raised his blade at him. As his body was penetrated by the sharp light, the other party's figure dissipated into thin air. The enemies were decreasing. However, Zichen's heart did not relax in the slightest. Instead, it became even heavier. Because with every passing moment, that powerful human soul realm expert might be closer to this place. The only thing that made Zichen somewhat glad was that no matter how fast the other party was, the only thing that affected his arrival was time. Lan Rue was stopped by two soul void realm experts, but they were not enemies, but two bamboo hat men. No matter what method Lan Rue used, he could not shake them off. Moreover, the two of them even ignored his illusory attacks. It had to be said that this was a very depressing thing. Lan Hongyi held a battle sword in her hand and was also fighting one against two. She, who had the guardian armor, was relying on the defense of the armor to take the initiative to attack. Although she had the upper hand, she was still far from being killed. As the battle dragged on, more and more people died and were injured. Hu Tai's mood also became very heavy. He, who could no longer accept this loss, could only cry for help loudly, "Sir, save me." This sir was naturally a human soul realm expert. Zichen let out a sigh. The situation was already very unfavorable to them. If that human soul realm expert rushed over, they would definitely die. Thus, he took out the unpredictable brush for the first time and began to write in the sky. As the brush fell, the soul power in the sky trembled, and a huge black cloud appeared in the azure sky. Lightning would occasionally appear in the black cloud, and an oppressive aura spread out. Rolling heavenly lightning appeared in the clouds. Heavenly lightning fell, and a spirit python appeared. Heavenly lightning python. Chapter 3771. The moment the sky thunder python appeared, it was like a powerful storm that swept in all directions. Countless grasses were uprooted, and the grass danced wildly on the ground. Rocks and sand flew everywhere. A terrifying pressure swept across the entire area, causing everyone's heart to sink. Such an unforeseen event caused everyone's expression to change drastically. The wind blew, and the whistling sound spread in all directions. The spirit python that was surrounded by lightning swept its tail like lightning. Bang! 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 The python's tail swept across, and several bamboo hat men's bodies exploded, disappearing from the world. At the same time, several enemies fell in the distance, their fates unknown. Then, the spirit python opened its mouth, and a bolt of lightning appeared, striking a soul realm expert. The opponent's hurried defense was instantly broken, and the powerful force sent him flying. The moment the spirit python moved, the world lost its color, sweeping across the entire area. With a simple turn, there were no more enemies around the spirit python. Looking at the spirit python in the sky, Hu Tai was shocked. Of course, he knew about the spirit python. It was the holy talisman art that belonged to Xian Nan. The two of them had sparred before, but he did not expect the spirit python to become so terrifying in Zichen's hands. At this moment, he suddenly felt a chill in his heart. Zichen's gaze had already landed on him. At the same time, the spirit python's cold eyes stared at him. Jushu. Hu Tai had a bad feeling, and suddenly shouted. In another direction, a soul realm expert suddenly sent his opponent flying, and took out a holy talisman brush to write in the sky. As the brush fell, the soul power in the sky began to vibrate violently, and in the next moment, a black tiger appeared. The black tiger's body was dozens of feet tall, and after it appeared, it targeted the spirit python. The powerful holy talisman art is not something that only one person has. Since we can come here to deal with you, how can we not have other methods? Jushu looked at Zichen and sneered, "Today, let's see if your sky thunder python or my secluded mountain tiger is stronger." Roar. An earth-shattering roar suddenly sounded, and in another place, another black tiger appeared. It was Jutai's method, and its body was slightly bigger than Jushu's. Two black tigers, one on the left and one on the right, rushed towards the spirit python. The spirit python let out a hiss and shot out bolts of lightning towards the two black tigers. The black tiger's body was huge, but it was extremely agile. It dodged the bolts of lightning in midair and pounced towards the spirit python. Bang! The spirit python's tail swept across and landed on the black tiger's body. A powerful shockwave sent a black tiger flying. As for the other one, it pounced on the spirit python and opened its mouth to bite the spirit python's body. Two tigers and one python began to fight. Seeing that the spirit python was trapped, Hutai finally heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. Actually, the spirit python was an existence of the same level as the black tiger and there was no need to be overly worried. However, Zichen's spirit python seemed to be a little too extraordinary. From the looks of it, everything seemed to be fine. He stared at Zichen with a provocative gaze. The spirit python was indeed very strong, but the two of them together were not weak either. At this moment, the corners of Zichen's mouth curled into a cold smile. His figure flashed as he flew toward Hutai. Swish. In another direction, Jushu was also approaching Hutai. Before coming here, their goal was to deal with Zichen. During this time, dozens of Saint Talismans appeared and blocked Zichen's path. Saint Talismans also flew out from Zichen's body and shattered one by one in the sky. For a moment, the attacks of Saint Talismans constantly rumbled. This was a confrontation between Saint Talisman masters. The sky was filled with flying Saint Talismans. The terrifying attacks caused many people's expressions to change. This intense battle could also be seen as a money-burning battle because every Saint Talisman used was equivalent to hundreds of blue crystal coins. This battle was like an endless stream of blue crystal coins burning. It shocked everyone and made their hearts ache. Various offensive Saint Talismans and auxiliary Saint Talismans appeared one after another, constantly colliding with each other. Amidst the surging energy, Zichen and the other two were like three streaks of light that rapidly changed directions. This made people sigh in admiration. The Descenders were blessed by the heavens. Zichen and the two Saint Talisman masters were fighting. In other directions, the battles were also continuing. Although these bamboo hat men didn't distinguish between friend and foe, their appearance greatly reduced the pressure on Zichen's group. The originally sure-kill situation was also broken. Soul shake. An indifferent voice came from the sky. When the Saint Talisman's power surged, Zichen used the power of the soul-binding chain to bind Jushu and punched his chest. The power of vibration entered his body, causing the soul power he had just mobilized to immediately disperse. He coughed out blood and was sent flying, crashing into the ground. He was heavily injured. On the other side, the black tiger that belonged to him let out a roar, and its huge body directly collapsed. One tiger had been defeated. Jushu's expression changed. At this moment, an ice-cold voice sounded from beside him. "Have a safe journey. Be careful." Hutai's warning came in time, but it was still a little too late. Zichen's palm landed on Juyu's chest. A powerful soul-destroying power entered Juyu's body and directly extinguished his life force. At this moment, a bolt of lightning landed on Zichen's body and instantly destroyed his Saint Talisman defense. It was Hutai's attack. Blood flowed from the corner of Zichen's mouth as his figure disappeared again. Hutai's expression changed drastically as he moved horizontally. A sharp light flashed past him. It was Zichen's saber attack. After the first attack missed, the second slash continued. Hutai dodged again and Zichen slashed again. At this moment, the other black tiger was already in danger. After a few breaths, it was swallowed by the spirit python. In the battle between two tigers and one python, the spirit python had won. Following that, the spirit python charged in all directions and began a massacre. Hu Tai, who was constantly dodging and retreating, had a gloomy expression. He really couldn't understand why the Soul Realm powerhouse hadn't appeared yet. And after being schemed against by Zichen again, they had suffered heavy casualties. Puff. Blood splattered as Lan Hongyi killed a Soul Corporeal Realm cultivator with a single slash. Her opponent only managed to leave a shallow mark on her armor. A sharp light also appeared on the folding fan in Lan Rui's hand. The moment his opponent was in a daze, it swept past his neck. Previously, when the spirit python was sweeping around, he had already gotten rid of the two men in bamboo hats and replaced them with a real enemy. After blocking dozens of slashes from Zichen, Hu Tai was entangled by the soul chain that suddenly appeared. Although he had been on guard, his reaction was still too slow. Zichen's soul-destroying attack followed. Hu Tai's eyes were disillusioned. Puff. The blade in Zichen's hand fell again and slashed through Hu Tai's body. The light in Hu Tai's eyes dimmed as his vitality began to fade. The second descender was dead. At this moment, a powerful aura suddenly appeared from the horizon. The human soul realm powerhouse had arrived. Chapter 3772. Zichen began to retreat, because he was no match for a human soul realm expert. While he retreated, the spirit python was responsible for holding back all the enemies and stopping them. The 6 of them ran towards the depths. Because the bamboo hat man had appeared once, he would not appear again this time, and the 6 of them were unimpeded. The spirit python's aura was powerful and stopped all the enemies, including the bamboo hat men. However, in the face of so many attacks, the aura around it became weaker and weaker. Its tail swept out again, whistling over, bringing with it a fierce aura. Those who were close immediately retreated, afraid of being affected. Then, the spirit python opened its mouth, and dozens of lightning bolts appeared. The light was dazzling, and with a rumbling sound, it caused everyone to retreat again. At this time, Zichen's group had already fled far away, putting some distance between them and the others. Buzz. The sky shook, and a palm print descended from the sky, carrying a powerful aura. It slapped the spirit python's head, and its body instantly collapsed. The human soul realm expert appeared in midair, and he quickly attacked. After a few palms, soul power shook, and the bamboo hat men were killed one by one. This was the human soul realm. The other party's eyes were cold as he stared into the distance. At this time, Zichen's group had stopped and turned to look at the other party. Both sides looked at each other. Today, you must die. The human soul realm expert's voice was cold. This time, he really wanted to kill. His body rushed forward like thunder, and his aura was vast and mighty. However, just as he moved a few hundred feet forward, a similarly violent aura appeared in the sky. A bamboo hat man of the human soul realm descended and blocked the other party. Get lost. The human soul realm expert was furious and struck out with his palm. The bamboo hat man's soul power circulated and blocked the attack. The 2 human soul realm experts were engaged in a fierce battle. Zichen turned around and stared ahead. Lan Rui stood beside him, looking at the human soul realm battle that had already begun, and said, "Are we just going to wait to be killed? There's only one chance." Zichen said in a deep voice, "It's either live or die." "What about them?" Lan Rui looked at the people in the distance and said, "Should we kill them first?" Zichen shook his head. Those people were heavily injured, and there weren't many of them left. Zichen said, "Ignore those people. Let's recover first. The next battle is very important." Zichen sat down cross-legged. He took out a recovery holy talisman and began to recover. The others also sat down cross-legged. The next step was to wait. They were waiting for the human spirits to decide life and death. If that powerful existence was directly killed by the bamboo hat man, it would save them the trouble of risking their lives. In front of them, the survivors looked at each other, obviously not knowing what to do. One of them suggested, "Why don't we charge over?" Everyone rolled their eyes at him. It was already dangerous to stay here, so why should he seek death? Zichen opened his eyes. Thanks to the help of the holy talisman, he had recovered his energy in advance. Before this, no one was seriously injured. Now, they were all recovering quickly. The battle between the human souls was still going on. Zichen began to watch the battle. That's the power of the human soul realm. Their soul power has reached another level. Lan Rui's voice came from the side. That's a power that's one level higher than soul stones. If you don't reach the true soul realm, you won't be able to advance to the human soul realm. Zichen understood what Lan Rui meant. That was not an ordinary soul realm. One needed to completely understand the power of the soul realm. The attacks continued to clash. The momentum was vast and all kinds of powerful soul techniques were dazzling. Zichen said, "Watch his attacks. We can't be careless in this battle." Blood splattered in the sky. The human soul realm was already injured. This was naturally an extremely good thing for everyone, and it gave them a little more confidence. However, the bamboo hat man's situation was not good. He did not seem to be able to hold on for long. In the end, the human soul realm expert summoned a war spear from behind and pierced through the bamboo hat man's back. The figure of the human soul realm bamboo hat man dissipated into thin air. Zichen stood up, took a deep breath, and said, "It's time to fight." The 5 people stood up one after another. Zichen's soul power surged. The holy talisman brush was already in his hand. Dark clouds rolled and heavenly lightning fell. A spiritual python appeared. The spiritual python hissed and flew forward. Zichen followed closely behind. Lan Hongyi and Lan Rui were on his left and right. Noah and the other 2 followed behind. The human soul realm expert looked at the 3 people and snorted disdainfully. In his eyes, these people were like insects. Even if they bared their fangs, how could they do anything to a giant dragon? In the eyes of the human soul realm expert, he was a giant dragon and the others were insects. Therefore, he waved his hand, indicating that the survivors did not need to do anything. He wanted to deal with these people personally. As the palm slammed down, the void darkened as a huge palm imprint shot forward. The spirit python hissed and its body rose once again. Its huge body blocked the palm. The palm print rumbled. The spiritual python fell to the ground, smashing a huge pit in the ground. Smoke and dust billowed in the pit. Zichen had already rushed to the front of the human soul realm expert. His hands began to form a seal. A ghost appeared in front of him. The ghost's body instantly enlarged like a huge mountain. It charged toward the human soul realm expert. The folding fan in Lan Rui's hand surged with countless ripples of light. It extended forward. Lan Hongyi was like a goddess of war. She held her sword with both hands and slashed at the opponent. Noah pointed forward. A huge storm appeared out of nowhere. Within the storm, green light flickered. A soul weapon also appeared in front of Shan Ya. It was the small dagger that Zichen had given her. At this moment, it was gathering the power of nothingness. Far ahead, Lan Jiu Meng's weapon also flew out. It was like a bolt of lightning, stabbing at the human soul realm expert's neck. The 3 of them were only at the soul void realm. They could only attack from afar. Once the human soul realm expert got close, the 3 of them would definitely die. This was also Zichen's order. The 3 of them were not allowed to get close to the human soul realm expert. Looking at the incoming attacks, the human soul realm expert snorted coldly in disdain. He struck out with his palm, and the huge ghost was sent flying. Then, his palm blocked the incoming storm. With a light shake, the storm dissipated. The killing move hidden in it also disappeared. Then, with a flick of his finger, Shan Ya's dagger was sent flying. Lan Jiu Meng's soul weapon, the narrow sword, was caught in his hand. The narrow sword was constantly struggling. The human soul realm expert snorted coldly and was about to crush the narrow sword. At this moment, the ground shook. The spirit python that was smashed into the ground did not dissipate. Instead, it soared into the sky. A bolt of lightning accurately landed on the human soul realm cultivator. The other party's figure swayed, and the narrow sword broke free. At this moment, Zichen arrived in front of the human soul realm expert and punched out. The power of lightning surged out from his fist. Soul destruction. The human soul realm expert stood in the air. The terrifying lightning that flew out of the Tao spirit python's mouth did not affect him at all. He stomped on the ground, and the spirit python was once again stomped into the ground. Chapter 3773. The human soul displayed an extremely powerful strength that could sweep through everyone. Those who were previously injured were still a little worried. However, when they saw the current situation, they all calmed down. After Zi Chen was sent flying, Lan Rui and Lan Hongyi were also sent flying. The three of them stood side by side and looked at each other. They did not feel dejected because of the other party's strength. In reality, this powerful human soul was heavily injured. Otherwise, the three of them would have been heavily injured or dead long ago. As for the Sky Thunder Python, they believed that it would have been destroyed by the other party with a single palm strike. The Sky Thunder Python that was smashed to the ground soared into the sky for the second time. Its aura was still as powerful as before. The huge underworld ghost also launched an attack at the human soul. Kill. Zi Chen charged forward again. Soul power swirled around his body as he began to accumulate strength. Soul power gathered towards his fist. Lan Rui and Lan Hongyi attacked the human soul from the left and right. Die. The three of them arrived at almost the same time. The human soul threw out another punch, and Zi Chen was sent flying again. Blood splattered in mid-air. The large sword in Lan Hongyi's hand fell, leaving a bloody wound on the other party's body. On the other side, several sharp lights appeared on the folding fan in Lan Rui's hand, piercing through the robes of the human soul. After the two of them succeeded in their attacks, they quickly retreated. The spirit python and underworld ghost were responsible for holding the other party back, preventing the human soul from pursuing. "Bastard, get out of my way," the human soul shouted and sent the two beasts flying. During this time, the harassment attacks of Noah and the other two were easily dispersed by him. At this moment, a cold voice came from the front. "Sky blue light." In the sky, a brilliant light suddenly erupted. The large sword in Lan Hongyi's hand seemed to have turned azure, and a powerful pressure emerged from it. At this moment, Lan Hongyi's gaze was cold, like a ruthless war goddess. There was a hint of caution in the human soul's furious eyes. Only then did he remember that he was facing someone from the Lan family. In that powerful family, there were naturally some amazing techniques. Lung Rui turned his head to look at this scene, and his eyes turned cold bit by bit. "Zi Chen, we're going to go all out." His aura also changed immediately. Boundless blue light was released from his body, as if he was a blue sun, bright and dazzling. Slash. Lan Hongyi shouted again. She held her sword with both hands and slashed down. This time, she did not approach. A beam of blue light shot out from the tip of the sword and headed straight for the human soul realm cultivator. Sensing the might of the light, the face of the human soul realm expert warped in astonishment. For the first time, he activated his defenses, and a blazing barrier of light appeared before him. When the blue light met the barrier, countless ripples appeared on the barrier. The entire barrier began to distort and deform. The eyes of the human soul widened bit by bit as the look in his eyes changed. With a bang, the defense shattered. That ray of light shot forward like a bolt of lightning, bringing with it a strand of blood as it flew for over 100 jong. The shoulder of the human soul realm expert was pierced, and blood was gushing out from it. The faces of those who did not participate in the battle changed drastically when they saw this scene. Previously, they were still full of confidence in their master, but who would have thought that he would be injured so quickly? In the sky, Lan Hongyi's face turned slightly pale, and the soul power flowing around her body dimmed. This attack was indeed very powerful, and it was a technique unique to the disciples of the Lan family, but it also consumed a lot of soul power. Die. The injured human soul realm expert was completely enraged, and his eyes were filled with cold killing intent. Being injured by what he thought was a small bug was simply a humiliation to him. At this moment, Lung Rui suddenly reached out his hand and tapped the space between his eyebrows. Countless rays of blue light blossomed. Between heaven and earth, within a radius of 1,000 feet, everything was dyed blue. In the blue light, the human soul realm expert seemed to see a person waving at him, and he seemed to see the person closest to him. The blue light had a peaceful aura that could calm one's heart. The killing intent in the eyes of the human soul realm expert was slowly dissipating. Suddenly, the pupils of the human soul realm expert shrank, and he quickly woke up. However, this short moment was enough for Ma Rui to launch an attack. Just as the sharp attack was about to pierce through the human soul realm expert's forehead, a powerful aura suddenly erupted from his body. This aura was like a huge wave, and it directly slammed towards Lung Rui. Lung Rui was very surprised. He did not expect the human soul realm expert to wake up so quickly, but it was enough for him to complete an attack. Blood splattered. The human soul realm expert, who had his vitals protected, had a second bloody wound on his body. This was not a simple attack, but an extremely powerful attack. At this moment, the two wounds of the human soul realm expert had residual energy that was eating away at his life force. The human soul realm expert looked down at his wounds, and a tyrannical look appeared in his eyes. At this moment, a cry of alarm came from below. "Master, watch out above your head." The human soul realm expert raised his head, and then saw that in the sky, there were many connected holy talismans. These holy talismans formed a circle and were shrinking. It was Zi Chen's ghost spirit holy talisman. Just as Lung Rui launched the illusion, Zi Chen also took the opportunity to use the ghost spirit holy talisman without anyone noticing. At this moment, even if the human soul realm expert noticed the abnormality, it was already too late. The holy talismans shattered one by one, and little ghosts appeared one after another. These little ghosts seemed to be the smallest of the ghost spirits, and they came down. The human soul realm expert was shocked and began to retreat, but the little ghosts were above his head, following him like shadows. "Master, be careful." Another cry of alarm sounded in the sky. In the sky, Lan Hongyi once again displayed her powerful move, and a blue light shot forward like an arrow. Zi Chen's cold voice sounded in their ears. "Instead of caring about the life and death of others, why don't you take a good look at your own situation?" In the sky, a black shadow descended. The ghost spirit had left the battlefield at some point and landed on the ground. Everyone shouted and scattered in all directions. The ghost spirit began to devour, obviously not intending to let anyone go. The human soul realm expert dodged several times, but he was unable to avoid the ghost spirits, and he also had to block Lan Hongyi's attack. Just as he blocked Lan Hongyi's attack, those little ghosts entered his sea of consciousness. Feeling that his life was being threatened, the human soul realm expert panicked. He quickly attacked, and with a powerful soul power, he forcibly broke Lung Rui's second attack. His palm fell, hitting the folding fan. With a bang, several cracks appeared on the folding fan. Bang! He punched out, and Shan Huaye's soul weapon exploded, followed by Lan Jiyumeng's soul weapon. Lan Jiyumeng's soul weapon wailed, and then flew out, entering Lan Jiyumeng's body, and did not appear again. The human soul realm expert was really angry, and he also became anxious, and began to kill the enemy by any means. All kinds of methods were displayed. Whoosh! An ear-piercing sound came from the sky, and a war spear appeared, heading straight for Zi Chen. Chapter 3774. Those brats had entered his sea of consciousness, causing him to feel the threat of death. In a panic, he decided to kill Zi Chen first. That battle spear was his sure kill attack. No matter how Zi Chen dodged, he could not avoid being locked on by the war spear. The war spear tore through the air and was about to pierce through Zi Chen's body. However, Zi Chen did not panic at all. His eyes were still cold and filled with killing intent. He flew towards the human soul realm. The war spear followed him. When the human soul realm saw this, his eyes turned cold. Obviously, at this speed, Zi Chen would not have a chance to reach him before he was killed by the war spear. Seeing that the war spear was about to pierce through Zi Chen's body, Zi Chen could even vaguely feel that the spear was behind him, but he still did not move. A cold smile appeared on the human soul realm's face. As long as Zi Chen died, the threat in his mind would naturally be removed. At that time, he would not let anyone go. Unexpectedly, at this moment, Zi Chen suddenly accelerated and pulled away from the war spear. Swish! A figure appeared behind Zi Chen in time. It was Lan Hongyi. She used her body to block in front of the war spear. This was also what they had agreed on before. Light blossomed from her armor. Her face was pale, but at this moment, she was mobilizing her soul power to the greatest extent to maximize her defense. There was a loud boom. The war spear shattered, and a powerful shockwave spread in all directions. Lan Hongyi's body flew backward and landed on the ground. It was unknown whether she was dead or alive. As for Zi Chen, he arrived in front of the human spirit expert in a flash and punched him in the chest while the human spirit expert was still in a daze. Soul destruction technique. A powerful soul destruction power surged into the other party's body, bringing with it the unique violence of lightning. Pu. The human soul realm spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying for the first time. Die. On the other side, Lang Rui arrived in time. The folding fan in his hand was like a sharp blade, piercing through the heart of the human soul realm again. The folding fan turned into a ray of light and flew back to his side. Lang Rui's body swayed and he almost fell to the ground. His soul power had been greatly depleted, and he was about to lose his footing. On the other side, Yu Gui, who had killed all his enemies, flew up and joined up with the Sky Thunder Python to attack the human soul realm again. At this moment, the human spirit was already seriously injured and the ghost spirit in his mind was continuously eating away at his opponent's soul. Around 10 breaths later, his weak aura was on the verge of dissipating like a candle flame. Yu Gui immediately stepped forward and swallowed him whole. After swallowing the human soul, Yu Gui burped. At this moment, a beam of spiritual light flew out of its mouth and headed straight for Zi Chen. It was the soul of a ghost spirit that had been destroyed. After these souls entered his sea of consciousness, they immediately restored Zi Chen's depleted soul power. A portion of them even became his soul power. Among the soul force, there were some unique insights of the human soul realm, which were given to Zi Chen at this moment. This greatly surprised Zi Chen, and he couldn't help but reveal a hint of joy on his face. Lan Rui also laughed. This time, they had accomplished a great feat on the ground. Lan Hongyi stood up slowly. Blood was flowing from the corner of her mouth and her hair was disheveled. The armor that was originally shining brightly on her body was now covered in cracks and was on the verge of being scrapped. Although we won, the price was not small. Lan Hongyi said with a smile, "This defensive armor of mine will take at least 1.5 years to recover." Lang Rui glanced at the folding fan in his hand and said, "It's the same for my soul weapon with the power of illusion." Although that was the case, the two of them didn't feel the slightest heartache. Compared to these losses, killing a human soul realm cultivator was more meaningful. The most important thing was that their lives were saved. Shan Ya, Noah, and Lan Jiyu Meng came close. When the human soul realm exploded, they retreated in time to avoid being affected. After all, the three of them were only at the soul void realm. Their realms were too low and they couldn't withstand a single round. Zi Chen looked at the corpses on the ground and said, "Everyone, let's look around and see if there's anything that can help us leave." The 6 of them descended from the sky and Lang Rui sat on the ground. He had consumed too much energy and was exhausted, so he didn't go forward. Zi Chen also stood there without moving. The souls that he had absorbed earlier contained some insights of the human soul realm. This feeling was fleeting and he didn't want to miss it. He closed his eyes and quietly sensed everything in his sea of consciousness. His heart gradually calmed down, and the movement of the grass in his surroundings entered his mind bit by bit. Lan Hongyi's situation wasn't very good either. After searching one person, she stopped and decided to recover first. Thus, only Noah and the other 2 were left. Noah was still very excited about searching for spoils of war because Zi Chen had obtained the Sky Thunder Python last time. Perhaps this time, they would find a similar harvest. Not to mention other things, just those scattered soul weapons were a huge fortune. Of course, the premise was that everyone could leave successfully. Otherwise, all the spoils would be useless. The 3 of them carefully searched the corpses one by one. During this time, they would also have a short conversation. "Don't let anything go. The only thing that can help us leave might be a jade slip or a saint talisman," Lan Hongyi said from afar. She was in a bad state and could only command everyone. "Don't worry, we won't miss anything," Shan Ya replied. During this period of time, The three of them got along very well. Little Mute, are you okay? Shan Ye suddenly noticed that Lan Jiu Meng seemed to be a little absent-minded. Her condition was obviously not right. Lan Jiu Meng shook her head and said, "The soul weapon that I obtained last time was heavily damaged. It was originally dormant, but for some reason, it woke up again and emitted an uneasy feeling." Uneasy feeling? Shan Ye was stunned and then looked at Noah. Noah shook his head, indicating that there was nothing unusual. Shan Ye then looked at Lan Hongyi. Lan Hongyi said, "I didn't find anything else either." Then, she seemed to have thought of something and said, "Little Mute, could it be that you found something? For example, the opportunity here? This place was originally brought to them by Lan Jiu Meng. Originally, there was an opportunity for the Heavenly Maiden, but everyone was trapped here and did not pay attention to it. Could it be that after this battle, Lan Jiu Meng had discovered something about the opportunity?" Lan Jiu Meng shook her head, indicating that other than the uneasy feeling of the soul weapon, there was nothing else unusual. At this moment, a ray of light appeared in the distance and went straight to Lan Jiu Meng. This ray of light was an attack. It was very fierce and even surpassed the attack of the human soul realm from before. When everyone saw this scene, their expressions changed drastically. They wanted to warn her, but it was already too late. Chapter 3775. This sudden attack was completely unexpected. No one was able to react in time. It could even be said that this was a sneak attack. Lan Gumeng was about to die a violent death. At this moment, Lan Jiu Meng's body flashed with light. The narrow sword soul weapon that had disappeared earlier appeared once again. This time, the soul weapon instantly enlarged. It was like a tall wall, blocking in front of Lan Jiu Meng. A person could not react in time to such a sudden change. However, a soul weapon that recognized its master could. When the attack landed on the soul weapon, it caused a loud explosion. Countless waves of air rolled and scattered in all directions. The surrounding grass was uprooted. The large sword that was stuck in the ground was pushed back by the impact. Even Lan Jiu Meng was pushed back. The strong wind blew, messing up her hair and covering her face. A deep gully was left on the ground. The light had already revealed its true form. It was a long staff. At this moment, the long staff was following the large sword and moving forward. Or rather, it was pushing the large sword forward. Cries of surprise could be heard. Noah and Shan Ye rushed towards Lan Jiu Meng to support her. At this moment, a cold snort suddenly sounded. Another person appeared out of thin air. It was a bare-chested strong man. The moment he appeared, he stretched out his hand and pointed out two fingers. Bang! Bang! Noah and Shan Ye, who were flying towards Lan Jiu Meng, forcefully changed their direction in mid-air. They crashed into the distance. It was unknown whether they were dead or alive. Retreat quickly. Lan Rui, who was healing his injuries, opened his eyes. His already cracked folding fan opened, causing ripples to appear on it. The bare-chested strong man's eyes had a hint of ridicule. "I have already seen through your methods." He did not move forward. Instead, he struck out with his palm. A huge palm print went straight towards Lan Rui. With a bang, the folding fan in Lan Rui's hand shattered. It completely lost its effect. His body was also sent flying backwards. Buzz! The surface of the large sword that had been blocking the long staff trembled. In the next moment, it disappeared. Lan Jiu Meng also took the opportunity to retreat. At this moment, her face was pale and blood was flowing out from the corner of her mouth. Even with the protection of her soul weapon, she was still injured. As long as the other party caught up, the bamboo hat man would descend. At that time, there would naturally be a bamboo hat man to stop the other party. Lan Jiu Meng's soul weapon disappeared. The long staff had also exhausted its power. It flew towards the bare-chested strong man and was firmly caught in his hand. Seeing Lan Gumeng fleeing into the distance, the bare-chested man, who was already in the human soul realm, gripped the long rod in his hand and threw it out again. Like a bolt of lightning, it went straight towards Lan Jiu Meng. Lan Rui to block the long staff. With a loud boom, the battle armor on the surface of her body shattered. Just like Lan Rui's soul weapon, it was completely destroyed and could no longer be repaired. Once again, the long staff returned to its original spot. Returning without success. Holding the long staff, the bare-chested strong man couldn't help but frown. He had originally launched a sneak attack, but he didn't expect that he wouldn't be able to kill a single person. At this moment, he saw Zi Chen. He had watched the previous battle from beginning to end, but he didn't make a move. He was still very surprised by this young man's methods. Right now, he was prepared to kill Zi Chen first. As soon as he thought of this, a black shadow fell from the sky. It was Yu Gui. Its body was like a huge mountain, and when it fell, it brought with it a strong whistling sound. With such a big movement, it was unknown if Yu Gui was warning the motionless Zi Chen to quickly retreat. Zi Chen still had his eyes closed, and he didn't move. The bare-chested strong man raised his palm. Light flowed on the palm print, and a tyrannical aura surged. He held Yu Gui with his palm and blocked the other party's attack. In the next moment, soul power erupted from his palm, and Yu Gui's body exploded. Compared to the human soul realm from before, the bare-chested strong man's combat strength was undoubtedly stronger. When Yu Gui's body exploded, he rushed towards Zi Chen. He was like a speeding light. Zi Chen! Lan Rui shouted. Zi Chen opened his eyes. There was a flash of light in his eyes, as if it contained thunder. The speed of the human soul realm seemed to have slowed down in his eyes. He took out the sacred rune brush. His movements didn't seem fast, but he finished his movements before the human soul realm arrived. He drew a line in the sky. It was as if he had written the word one. In an instant, the world shook as if the whole world was divided into two. The charging streak of light instantly stopped moving. This person at the human soul realm displayed extraordinary control over his strength. After the sudden stop, there was a hint of fear in his eyes, as if there was some terrifying ghost in front of him. A trace of soul power appeared in front of him, flying towards him. It looked ordinary, but it made him quickly retreat. The reason for that was because that beam of soul power was capable of directly splitting this space into two. The other party was rapidly retreating. The light seemed to be advancing at a steady pace, but it always maintained a certain distance from him, and he couldn't shake it off. It was as if the two of them were in the same space, and as long as they came into contact, they would be divided into two. The fear in the bare-chested strong man's eyes grew stronger and stronger. In the next moment, he shouted in horror, and the soul power around him began to surge like a tide, pouring out in all directions. In the distance, the few people didn't know what was happening. They only saw Zi Chen randomly draw a line in the sky, and that powerful human soul retreated in fear. Right now, it was as if he had gone crazy, constantly squandering his power. No one knew what the other party was doing. Only the bare-chested strong man knew, and he was very clear-headed. After the powerful shockwave, his connection with the trace was finally broken. Right now, he was no longer affected, so he retreated even faster. He looked at the trace that was no longer afraid of the threat, and then looked at Zi Chen. At this moment, the other party's eyes were filled with confusion. Clearly, even Zi Chen didn't know what was going on. Then, he believed that Zi Chen wouldn't be able to use the same attack a second time. As long as he retreated far enough, he would be able to counterattack. Lan Rui and the others noticed the change in the other party's expression. There was no more fear, and killing intent reappeared. This made them feel uneasy. Right at that moment, the robust man who had retreated suddenly moved forward and blocked the path of the light. The killing intent in the other party's eyes still existed. The trace swept past the other party's body. What's going on? Lan Hongyi was suddenly stunned, and she was very confused. Why did the other party take the initiative to move forward, as if he was seeking death by crashing into the trace? It's time. The flow of time has changed. Lan Rui said in shock, it's like time has reversed. Time has reversed, and he has appeared in his original position. When the bare-chested strong man saw the trace in front of him disappear, he, whose face was filled with killing intent, was slightly stunned. Why did it disappear into thin air? Was it an illusion? In the next moment, he felt his strength begin to fade. Then, he looked down and only saw half of his body. His pupils suddenly dilated, and there was fear in his eyes. He didn't understand what was going on. In the next moment, his consciousness dissipated. Chapter 3776. Zichen's eyes were still blank. He also did not understand what had happened. When the crisis appeared, he was only one step away from successfully comprehending the holy talisman technique from the black jade slip. When the crisis arrived, Zichen, who was under great pressure, finally took that step as he heard his companions being sent flying one after another. Then, he opened his eyes and drew a stroke in the sky. A trace moved forward. Zichen didn't know the reason for all of this, but he was very clear on one thing. This brush seemed to be the sharpest weapon in the world, capable of splitting space into two. Everything it encountered was unable to escape its fate. However, the other party's realm was extremely high, and he easily broke free from the seal of the stroke. Seeing that his attack had lost its effect, who knew that at this moment, the other party did not retreat but instead moved forward, directly colliding with the light and splitting into two. It was equivalent to taking the initiative to seek death. Although he did not know what had happened, Zichen was obviously relieved that the crisis had been averted. Then, he reacted and looked behind him. He saw Lan Rui, Lan Jiumeng, Lan Hongyi who had lost her armor, and the severely injured Noah and Shan Ya. Although everyone's condition was not good and their injuries were not light, fortunately, they were still alive. Zichen put away the unpredictable brush, stood up and said, "Everyone, heal your injuries first. We'll talk about the rest later." For safety's sake, he motioned for everyone to start retreating to a place where the man in bamboo hat could appear. If he had not been careless earlier, they would not have been in such a sorry state and almost died. Of course, Zichen did not expect that the other party would arrange for two human soul realm experts. It seemed that the other party was very eager to kill them. The few of them began to treat their wounds. They looked very miserable, but Zichen was the one who was in the best condition. After recovering from his injuries, there was no danger, so Zichen, who had waited for a moment, walked forward to look for the spoils. In the end, he obtained a long staff, which was a human soul realm weapon. There were complicated patterns on it, which seemed to be some kind of pattern, but Zichen did not recognize it. Human soul weapons were naturally extraordinary. Since he didn't have any suitable weapons, he naturally wanted to take them for himself. However, after a slight hesitation, he decided to take it out and see what the others thought. After cleaning up the battlefield, Zichen walked back and continued to feel the brushstroke from before. The power of that stroke was simply too strong. It was actually able to kill even a human soul realm cultivator, which showed how extraordinary it was. As time passed, Zichen's consciousness gradually sank into it. After an unknown period of time, Lan Rui opened his eyes. His injuries had already recovered. A light breeze blew past, blowing up a cloud of dust on the messy battlefield. Lan Rui raised his eyebrows slightly. This was originally a sealed space, and time was also still. All the environments were unchanging, so why was there wind? There was also the scene from before. In this still space, there was actually a problem with the flow of time. Otherwise, that human soul realm expert would not have died. What was going on? After thinking for a long time, Lan Rui, who could not come to a conclusion, simply gave up. At this moment, he saw the soul weapon beside Zichen. It was a weapon left behind by the human soul realm expert. He went forward to take a closer look before putting it down. Not long after, Lan Hongyi's injuries had also recovered. Having lost her armor, she was now wearing a long dress. She only took a glance at the soul weapon and lost interest. The others woke up one after another. Only Shan Ya and Noah's injuries had not fully recovered, but they were no longer obstructed from walking. Hearing the commotion beside him, Zichen opened his eyes and nodded at them with a smile. Everyone was in a good state. Of course, their luck was even better. To be able to survive, other than their strength, there was also a lot of luck. Is everyone all right? Zichen stood up and stretched his muscles. We're fine. Lan Rui walked forward and said, What happened just now? Why did time rewind? Time rewind? Zichen was stunned. If it wasn't for the time rewind, that human soul realm expert wouldn't have died. Lang Rui told him about his discovery, but Zi Chen was still confused. Look around, there's already wind. Lang Rui looked into the distance where the grass was low and the wind blew past. Zi Chen understood what Lang Rui meant and turned to look at Lan Jiu Meng. Little mute, did you find anything? Lan Jiu Meng nodded and said, I seem to have sensed another place. As soon as her voice fell, the surrounding space suddenly distorted, and an oppressive force appeared. Zi Chen stretched out his hand and a long rod appeared in his hand. He gripped the long rod tightly and looked around. The others were also on guard. However, other than the distorted space, there was nothing abnormal. Lan Jiu Meng said, there's an emotion coming from that space. It seems to be very urgent. Should we go in and take a look? The others looked at Zi Chen, waiting for him to make a decision. Zi Chen looked at everyone. Other than Noah and Shan Ya who had not recovered from their injuries, the others were already at their peak. Which one of you wants this soul weapon? Zi Chen took out the long rod in his hand. As a weapon of the human soul realm, this soul weapon was of extremely high quality. If a battle happened, it would be a form of protection for the wielder. I've already seen it before. It's not compatible with me. Lang Rui shook his head and said, I'm good at illusions, but it clearly doesn't have that enhancement. I still have a soul weapon. I don't need it. Lan Hongyi's armor had lost its effect, but her weapon was still there. She also shook her head. Lan Jiu Meng also had her own weapon and didn't need this long rod. As for Noah and Shan Ya, they also shook their heads. In this situation, the powerful soul weapon was in the hands of the powerful Zi Chen. Only then would they have a chance of survival. Zi Chen didn't continue to dwell on this matter and directly used his soul power to refine the long rod. Then, he said, you guys recover first. He took out the holy talisman brush again and began to write talismans. It was the ghost spirit holy talisman. This was one of his most powerful trump cards. There seems to be a consciousness urging us to speed up. He said that he doesn't have much time left. At this moment, Lan Jiu Meng suddenly said. The few of them looked at each other. Zi Chen hesitated for a moment, then put away the unpredictable brush and said, let's go take a look first. Lan Jiu Meng's body bloomed with light, and the state of a heavenly lady was revealed. At the same time, her strength attribute also changed. She stretched out her white jade-like palm and pressed towards the sky. Water-like light scattered in all directions. A passage appeared in front of them. Looking at this water-like passage, Zi Chen took out the long rod again and said in a deep voice, let's go. Chapter 3777. Zi Chen walked into the passage and came to an independent space. The first thing that appeared in his perception was the pressure. This pressure gave people a feeling of confusion, as if time and space were not stable, and he felt a little dizzy. The light coming from the front was also colored, coming from the distorted space-time. Then, Zi Chen saw two behemoths facing each other in the distorted spacetime. Countless spacetime powers gathered around one of the behemoths, and the space around it was distorted and refracted light. The other seemed to be able to affect time. Where Zi Chen looked, his vision was sometimes clear and sometimes blurry, making it impossible to distinguish between reality and illusion. Lan Rui and the others followed behind. After seeing the scene in front of them, their expressions changed drastically, and they were shocked. Wasn't this the fairy's opportunity? Why were there two behemoths here? You're finally here. At this moment, a voice sounded, coming from the second behemoth. It's been so many years. If you hadn't come, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to hold on. Hearing the other party's voice, Zi Chen asked in surprise, Senior, are you waiting for us? To be precise, I'm just waiting for someone. But right now, I need your power. Me? Zi Chen pointed at himself with a puzzled expression. That's right, it's you. The voice said again, now use your power to break open the space in front of me. Zi Chen looked at the behemoth that could distort spacetime and said hesitantly, Senior, you must be joking. How could I have such power? I'm not joking. Young man, you do have such power, but what you need to do is not to break open the space around this old man, but the space where this guy in front of you is. This old man has been waiting for you for a long time. The first behemoth suddenly spoke, but the content of its words made Zi Chen's expression change again. Both of them believed that he had the power to break open space, but which existence should he attack? The first behemoth continued, "Young man, don't be confused. Your enemy is in front of you." This place was originally a trial space, but its arrival had broken the pattern of this place. Originally, this place contained opportunities and power for the Holy Maiden. However, because it fought with me, it caused the trial space to change. If it wasn't for your previous battle that changed the situation, you wouldn't have been able to come here at all. This was also the conjecture that Zi Chen had made before. Due to the passage of many years, changes had occurred. However, he did not expect that these changes were actually caused by the battle between the two beasts. But now, who should he listen to? "Young man, I helped you before." The second behemoth said, "I have the power to change time. Earlier, it was because time had changed that you were able to obtain the final victory. But it was also because I split a portion of my power to help you that allowed it to seize the opportunity and put me in danger. I was the one who sent that message. If you had come a little later, this battle that has lasted for many years would have ended in a life and death battle. Young man, don't listen to his nonsense. I control the power of space-time. The reason why you can reach this place is because I opened the passageway." The first behemoth said. The others looked at each other. Clearly, they did not expect to encounter such a thing. Who should he trust now? They all sounded trustworthy. Everyone subconsciously looked at Zi Chen. In this kind of matter, Zi Chen did not dare to make a decision casually. Thus, he looked at Lan Jiumeng. This was her opportunity. Perhaps she could sense some issues of right and wrong. Unexpectedly, Lan Jiumeng shook her head and said, "Sorry, I can't tell. It seems that what they said is true and very reasonable. Young man, you should believe in space-time. Because time is fickle, while space-time is eternal and unchanging. If time did not deliberately change, how could everything that should belong to you change?" The behemoth that could control the power of time said again. At this time, the two beasts seemed to be standing in the void without any interaction. In fact, they had both raised their power to the limit and were engaged in a destructive battle. Once one side was defeated, only death would await. But who should he help? Try using your power. It's enough to break open a little space. The space-time beast saw Zi Chen's hesitation and said again, "Young man, I know you have concerns in your heart. I don't want to see you in a difficult position. If you really don't want to help, then how about this? Don't help anyone and just watch the outcome of the battle." This suggestion was obviously not bad. Even Lan Rui and the others felt that it was feasible. At this moment, the time beast said, "Earlier, I used a portion of my power and was already at a disadvantage. If you don't help anyone, I'll die. And once I die, all of you will die." The space-time beast said, "Young man, you believe such words. If you don't help anyone, you're not wrong. If you're not wrong, how can you die?" The time beast said, "It already has the upper hand. It's just stalling for time. Once I'm defeated, not only will it devour me, it will also devour the fairy. At that time, do you think you can still survive? Young man, don't listen to its nonsense. It's already at the end of its tether. You just need to watch quietly." The space-time beast's voice sounded again. Their minds were in a mess. They didn't know who to believe. The hesitant Zi Chen's gaze became firm. He said in a deep voice, "It's hard to tell if it's real or fake. I can only trust my intuition. Since Senior was willing to help us, we'll believe Senior this time. Young man, you can't be fooled by it. It knows that it's no match for you, so it used such a method," the space-time beast said anxiously. With a flash of light, the unpredictable brush appeared in Zi Chen's hand. The power that the two existences were talking about should be the attack of his holy talisman art. After taking out the holy talisman brush, Zi Chen's eyes no longer hesitated. His gaze became incomparably firm, and there was even a hint of coldness. Life and death will be decided at this moment. You brainless bastard, you're courting death. Seeing that Zi Chen was really about to attack it, the space-time beast suddenly became furious. The space-time power around it began to circulate, and then, figures appeared in the distorted spacetime. They landed and turned into men in bamboo hats. Kill, don't leave a single one alive. The spacetime beast's cold voice sounded. Those men in bamboo hats charged towards Zichen and the others. This time, they didn't care about the morality of a one-on-one battle. They directly attacked in a group battle. Zichen's brush fell and drew a straight line in the sky. The straight line turned into a mark that deliberately cut through space and headed forward. Stop him! The spacetime beast shouted again. This time, there was a hint of anxiety in its voice. Zichen, who was originally unsure and was only testing, had now come to a very certain conclusion. His choice was right. Kill. Chapter 3778. The mark that could cut through space was blocked by the man in bamboo hat. However, the price was not small. Among them, 5 of them were at the sole true realm. Their bodies were split into 2, and they died and dissipated. The staff in Zichen's hand glowed as he waved it forward. In terms of staff techniques, the devil ape was very good in this aspect. Zichen had watched it for a long time, so he naturally learned a little. Spatial power appeared on the spacetime beast's body again, isolating the place where Zichen and the others were. Or rather, it changed the spatial pattern here. As a result, they, who were not far away from each other, were now a long distance away. If Zichen wanted to break out of this situation, he could only speed up and charge forward. Bang! 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 Wherever the staff passed, the bodies of the man in bamboo hat exploded one after another. At this time, he naturally would not hold back. Ripples spread out in all directions, forming a terrifying wave of air. Now that the target was clear, Lan Rui and the others also used their full strength at this time. Young man, I can't hold on much longer. The time beast's voice sounded again, this time with a hint of anxiety. Zichen glanced ahead. The 2 beasts were still confronting each other, but he couldn't see anything unusual. If he had to point out a problem, it seemed that the power around the time beast had become even more unstable. It's useless to count on them to save you. Today, everyone will die. The spacetime beast's voice was filled with killing intent. I've let you linger on for so many years. It's time for you to die. Zichen began to form seals. Soul light flowed on his fingertips, and the ghost that had exploded earlier reappeared. As long as Zichen's soul power existed, the ghost would not die. The ghost that appeared was like a mountain peak. It charged forward, using its body to send the man in bamboo hat flying. Zichen raised his brush again. This time, it was no longer the holy talisman technique, but the heavenly thunder python. In the strange phenomenon, the spirit python appeared, carrying lightning as it attacked the approaching man in bamboo hat. Zichen raised his brush again, and another spirit python appeared. The 2 pythons soared into the air, their auras vast and mighty. Countless bolts of lightning descended, striking the man in bamboo hat one after another. Some of these people died, while others flew backwards. The 3 beasts opened a path for Zichen to move forward. Zichen, whose face was somewhat pale, began to move forward. There's no need to make a futile struggle. Could it be that you're so naive as to think that you have the power to break through space? The spacetime beast mocked. Zichen released his soul light. With the 3 beasts leading the way, he arrived at the end of this space and picked up his brush. It was just a stroke. What little soul power he had left in his body was completely poured into unfathomable, leaving behind a mark in the sky. The trail continued forward. It landed on the space in front of him and then disappeared. There was no reaction. The spacetime beast laughed out loud. You overestimate yourself. Zichen raised the brush again. This time, the energy in his body was completely depleted. It seemed as though even his life was about to be sucked away by this stroke. The power of this stroke fell in front of him, but it still didn't cause much of a change. This made Zichen a little depressed. Young man, that's enough. At this moment, the spacetime beast's voice sounded. Take the others and retreat quickly. Zichen retreated when he heard this. The power of his 2 strikes could be ignored, but if they were added together, it was equivalent to a straw. Although it was very light, it was the last straw that broke the camel's back. In a situation where both sides were evenly matched, Zi Chen's negligible power was like the most important straw that could decide the outcome of the battle. The space around the space-time beast began to disintegrate layer by layer. The space became unstable, and the men in bamboo hats around disappeared one by one. The space-time beast completely appeared. This was also the first time Zi Chen and the others saw its appearance. Its body was suffused with a faint blue light, and it had a dragon head that belonged to the Western dragon race. Its body was extremely huge, and its body was covered with scales. It looked mighty and ferocious. If I die, you guys won't have it easy either. At most, we'll die together. The power on its body erupted once again. This time, it was even more violent, as if the entire space was about to explode. Countless rays of time power appeared in front of them, trying to stabilize the surroundings, but it was not very effective. At this moment, the space-time beast had also used up a lot of its power, so its true body was revealed. It looked no different from the space-time beast, but its face was more amiable. At this moment, the space-time power in front of them surged, as if it was about to completely destroy this space. Protect the Holy Maiden. The space-time beast let out a sigh. A ray of light flew over from afar and landed on Lan Jiyumeng's body. Then, the light expanded and turned into a huge light barrier, protecting the gathered people. In the next moment, the space where they were standing was completely destroyed. They stayed in the light barrier and watched the terrifying energy wreak havoc around them. However, there were no abnormalities in the place where they were standing. It was as if they were in a different space-time. It's the power of time. We're in the past, but it's also possible that we're in the future. Zi Chen looked at the dilapidated surroundings and said, "It's very likely that we're in the future. Because in the past, this place really existed. Only in the future can this place be destroyed." The space-time light barrier was still in effect. When the raging energy around them disappeared, everything returned to silence. With a bang, the space-time light barrier shattered. Zi Chen's group of 6 appeared. The messy ground in front of them had already returned to normal. It was as if time had gone back, and everything had returned to the way it was when they first arrived. The only difference was that the 2 behemoths in the field were no longer confronting each other. They fell to the ground, motionless. Their vitality had already faded. They were dead. It seemed like they had perished together. A sorrowful aura filled the surroundings. Zi Chen walked forward. Their lives were saved by the space-time beast. Before they perished together, the space-time beast used its last bit of time power to send them to the future and avoid this disaster. Arriving in front of the 2 beasts, they didn't know what to say. Lan Jiyumeng suddenly shed tears. She felt that she had lost the most important thing to her. A ray of light suddenly appeared and landed in front of them. It was an old man wearing a blue robe. He looked at the 6 people in front of him and let out a sigh. "You're finally here." Zi Chen looked at the old man who suddenly appeared and felt a sense of vigilance in his heart. After seeing the old man, Lan Rui and Lan Hongyi's expressions changed. The 2 of them looked at each other and saw disbelief in each other's eyes. Obviously, it wasn't their eyes that were playing tricks on them. What they saw was real. Lan Rui realized that his throat was a little dry and his voice was a little hoarse. "Ancestor?" He had never seen this old man before, but he had seen a portrait of him. It was the ancestor of the Lan family who had single-handedly created the powerful Lan family, Lan Xing.